It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. This is going to be a big one today. The Pump Debate Analysis. And this is the only station where you're going to get to be a part of the conversation about last night. Who won? Who looked more presidential? What do you think of those moderators? Phone lines are open, and we are discarding the one call a week rule.
Yeah, don't need that today.
Dive in here, be part of the conversation, and call in early because this is going to fill up. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Fantastic panel last night. Did a live commentary with the conservative mama. You've probably seen her videos. She does these great, funny videos, huge following online. She joined us. Ryan Armagost joined us. We got Brandy Bradley for a little bit, some technical issues there. Andrew McGuire was there, and then attorney Chris Murray, friend of the show.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Some great analysis. So it was a great panel. We covered the whole thing, had a great audience turnout, and we are ready to dive into these issues. How did Donald Trump do? How did Kamala Harris do? And those moderators, man, we got to talk about that. But Billy, you had quite a night too.
Yeah, I did. I'm so very tired. I've had no sleep because I spent an evening out at Blue Spruce Brewing Company, and we did Taylor Swift trivia. And if anybody knows those fans, they turn out and they packed the place. Every table was full, including all outside tables. It was wonderful to see everybody. There were people bringing in, their kids and kids helping out. The team that won round one, they walked away with $25 scraped off their tab. Free $25 food and drink because their 8-year-old daughter cleaned house. They handed her the phone and she played and she whooped everybody. I couldn't believe it. It was fantastic. Also, I have to give a shout out. Friend of the show, John Kellner, was there last night. He was there with his family. There? Yeah, because his daughter, huge Taylor Swift fan. She did a great job as well. So it was really neat to see him and see them. In fact,
District Attorney John Kellner
was out there. So it was really nice to see a bunch of people. Saw a bunch of teachers that I know. And of course, it was funny because the teachers did very well, but they came in fourth in one round, and that's because their daughters were over at dance at the time. And the daughters came over, and they were like, "Mom, you didn't know that one? Mom!" It was that kind of conversation. Like, how could you not know that one, Mom? So did that, and then came home and immediately turned around and went and started the debate. And I would start, and I didn't get to bed until like midnight. So I'm going to have to lean heavily on the caffeine this morning. But it was a great night, and the debate was interesting. It was the thing that got me. And again, just to kick it off, and I'd love to hear from the callers. We talked about the handshake yesterday. She went for the handshake, not him.
She did. Started it off that way.
That was interesting. That's not what I'd expected. That was a different play than what I expected. So, yeah, I'll be excited to talk about this today.
And then Taylor Swift jumping into... She did her research. She did her... The childless cat lady did her research.
Yes, yeah. And so, she jumped in right afterwards.
Kamala Harris with a post right afterwards.
Yeah, that
holding
could be
a cat.
Huge. Yes, of course. Well, she has two. So, it's, and... yeah, they're very important.
They're not being eaten.
No, not at all. Not at all. And that was interesting. That one, too. I was like, I can't believe Trump stepped in that. I was like, wow. Okay.
I think Bill and I are going to have very different views of how that debate happened last night.
I certainly will.
So lots to cover today. But first, news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm really angry this morning. I didn't get any sleep either.
Why?
That was ridiculous last night. That thing was a train wreck. Here's what I wanted to tell you. About a month ago, you guys were off. Peter was in, and he asked me, who do you not trust in the mainstream media?
Yeah.
Who in the media? Okay. So I'm like, Peter, I don't even watch legacy media. I don't watch local news. I don't watch network news. I said, but I'll find someone. Okay. So I find the guy. I said, okay, that guy, whoever that joker is, he looks like Clark Kent. Looks like a model.
David Muir,
He talks like this in ABC News. I said, right there, I don't trust that guy. David Smear. Okay,
that's a great name.
Thank you. Thank you. Here we go. David Smear is the story. Who is the other cat? Who's the other lady? The other moderator.
The one with the shoulder pads?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad.
We were back in the 80s, baby.
That was really bad.
Are we back to that?
Yeah, and that's a fashion thing that
is it?
yeah, that's the jacket's tailored, and it's a bad choice based on whoever stylist is, because there are certain layers of padding that you can get on the shoulders, and I could go way far afield on this one. But the problem is when you sit down, the shoulders collapse, and that's what she got. Her padding was too thick on the shoulders based on having going to be seated the most time. If she stands up, I bet it's a great frame. It silhouettes you nicely. But when you sit down, that's what happens. Yeah, it was bad tailoring and bad advice by your stylist.
She needed to wear a football jersey. That would have worked out well.
There you go.
So anyway, yeah, I didn't get any sleep either, and it was horrible. But I wanted to bring that up because I was boiling just listening to that dude, and I'll get on with the news here, and you guys can get going with the show. But it's 50.
Well,
go ahead.
I mean, Hugh Hewitt right before this brought up this. That might have been the last debate that any Republican will do with ABC moving forward.
I'm telling you, I wouldn't. That was a joke.
It was 3-on-1. Here's Trump right afterwards. Listen to this audio.
Yeah.
Did you have fun? Did you have fun?
I had a good time. I think it was our best debate ever. I thought it was.
So, I mean, that was right afterwards.
That's
that was
incredible.
very clear as 3-1.
Yep, no doubt. Now, and Larry told you yesterday. He said similar stats on the Media Research Center leading up to it. I think it was for a month on both candidates in the positive and negative coverage. So, all right, we have a lot to talk about this morning. 59 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 85 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things.
David Smear and two other women ganged up on former President Trump last night in the first and possibly only debate between Trump and Vice President Harris.
Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it.
Kamala Khan's new running mate, David Smear, did an outstanding job guiding her and injecting opinions and smearing Trump. And he's the moderator.
Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your death.
Why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border. I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific.
Oh, the city manager. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the people don't matter.
By the way, Blake, did you see who was just applauding? I mean, I literally couldn't. You couldn't script this. Who was celebrating, standing up, and clapping those moderators for the great job they did?
Who?
Kyle Clark. I'm not kidding. He tweeted out. He's like, what a amazing portrayal of balanced questions.
Yes, true journalism.
What a joke.
Right. No, it's just smarmy, just Okay, here's some more.
Specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals
Injured by in the city mesh.
within the immigrant community. I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people on
I'm taking it from
television
the city
saying they're
manager.
doing-
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence
Oh,
of that.
that
President
city
Trump, as you know,
manager
the
again.
FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack.
Yeah, and the undercover FBI and CIA and deep state inside and involved in all of it. All right. Hey, you know what? I love listening to Megyn Kelly after the debate.
It's very easy to look like you know what you're doing when both moderators are entirely on your side. Trump did the best he could under the circumstances, but it really was like three fighters in the ring pummeling one opponent. And Trump tried to take them all on. He did fine. He did as best as he could. He was thrown a few times to the point where he was unnecessarily defensive and he was getting angry. And so was I. Were you?
Yes. 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 Yes.
People around the globe are remembering the victims this morning of 9/11. The terrorists made the attack. They attacked on this day 23 years ago. And family members and the victims are gathering with local leaders in Lower Manhattan for the annual reading of the victims' names. The 11th Judicial District Attorney, Linda Stanley, will be disbarred for misconduct related to the Suzanne Morphew case. The Colorado Supreme Court concluded that Stanley was absent during key parts of the prosecution. She also is accused of launching a personal investigation into the judge overseeing the Morphew case and speaking about the case with true crime podcasters. Morphew went missing in 2020 and her husband Barry Morphew was accused of killing her, but the case was dismissed shortly before it would have gone to trial. Authorities have identified the suspect killed in last weekend's shootout along US 36 in Denver as 32-year-old Victor D. Santiago. Investigators say Corporal Ty Simcox was pulled over on the side of the highway doing paperwork when D. Santiago began shooting at him. Simcox was shot in the arm, but returned fire and fatally shot D. Santiago. Police say that D. Santiago had a long criminal history, and he was most recently charged with assault on a police officer. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 56 in Arvada, 57 in Lone Tree, 59 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Hump Day Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning, Denver. Your 710 5-day forecast will start off with partly cloudy skies. Then we do see a chance for some afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. Highs today in the middle and upper 80s, then clearing tonight with lows in the mid-50s. Drying things out, middle and upper 80s for Thursday. Sunshine, breezy winds out of the west and southwest, lower to mid-80s and sunny for Friday. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
right, Billy, let's start with your perspective on last night's debate.
Yeah, well, I thought it was okay. Nothing great, nothing fantastic. The moderators were average. I mean, I understand that inside of conservative media, they're viewed as awful. I get the view based on, hey, it's ABC and we can't trust them. Friend of the show, we can call him that now because Larry Elder was on with us yesterday. So I'm checking out our pre-debate coverage right here on 710 KNUS. So super curious about what the great Eldersky was going to say. And he had a very interesting insight, one that I hadn't considered just based on ABC. And he said that ABC is, while it is part of the liberal media, is considered mainstream. And he said, you have to remember that there are a lot of conservatives that watch ABC. Good Morning America is the most popular morning show in America at this point. That is not just because they have all Democrats. So there is this malleability inside of the audience. He said this idea that ABC is a liberal bastion, he said, is incorrect because it does have a wide audience. In fact, David Muir's Nightly News has a larger audience than Fox News does. And that's significant because that, again, unless you believe that 3/4 of the country is Democrats, that means there are some conservatives watching ABC News. Now, he didn't say that David Muir was going to be this wonderful, straight, middle-of-the-road moderator. That wasn't where he was going. He was saying, don't discount ABC News as this leftist media organization like an MSNBC or a CNN. He said they have a different place in American culture. And I thought that was an interesting insight.
Possibly, but after last night... Five fact checks against Donald Trump, 0 fact checks against Kamala Harris, and there's plenty to fact check there.
There are some things to fact check, but the thing with Trump, though, is that his are so overt. The things that he talks about
what she said was so overt.
Like what? Okay, like what?
All right, you ready? So Trump's connection to Project 2025.
Yeah.
His position on IVF.
Well, hang on.
The statements on stand by, stand down. That was a deliberate misrepresentation of his statements, and the Charlottesville, which has been debunked over and over and over again. They could have easily stepped in and rechecked that.
The one I would agree with you on is the Charlottesville. He's changed his positions and he's on IVF, and we've seen that on both sides.
He changed his positions on IVF?
He has, yes.
He's not changed his positions.
Yes.
When was he against IVF?
When he becomes the super pro-life guy, and he's the most pro-life president, he's saying that, and that's what
that's all he said. He never said he was against IVF.
The pro-life movement does not necessarily want IVF, and that's the pro-life movement are the ones that were creating some of these legal problems and moving to block it, and so
that's just guilt by association. That has nothing to do with his positions on IVF.
Well, the thing is that he's in charge of the party that is saying this is what we want to do. And then he comes out and now he wants the government to pay for it, which is not anything close to what the Republican Party wants. So, yes, he's changing his position on IVF. And so I get that. And the thing about the stand back, stand by, that was a little bit, they could have gone after her for that one. But the other one, no, I disagree. I don't think
on Project 2025, he has specifically disavowed it. He came out over and over and over again. Said, I haven't even read this. I wasn't a part of putting this together. And they're like, well, people that used to work in your administration were the ones that doing that.
You saw the videos, right, that were put out where they introduced themselves as, I'm a former Donald Trump staffer. I worked with
the people from the Heritage Foundation. Why is he constantly having to? You keep doing this guilt by association thing.
Because they are saying in the Donald Trump administration, this is what we are going to do. They gave inside the videos, they gave the impression, the tacit impression that Trump supports this. This is Trump's plan. You're going to be part of the Trump administration doing this. That's how it was sold. That's how it was done. So now for him to go, I have no idea what it's about. And remember, this is a guy that says, I have no idea what it's about, but there's some good things inside, but he's never read it. How does he possibly know there's any good things inside, but he's never read it? Again, that's the problem with this.
Because he doesn't know what's in it. And he's not going to discount the entire thing, saying that the whole thing is terrible. He doesn't know. He didn't write it. He don't want to be a part of it.
Or bad.
And Kamala Harris and the Democrats keep trying to tie that to her and go and try to him.
It has been,
and going back to the idea that David Muir and ABC is going to fact check Donald Trump 5 times, and then Kamala Harris gets a total pass. That was 3 against 1. And ABC is not going to have another Republican participate in these debates.
I disagree, but that's okay. They don't have to. Republicans don't have to. If they feel that the only place they can go is on a conservative media outlet, that's on them. And that constrains.
Really? You think that's on them?
Yeah.
When you get to like 93% of your coverage is negative, that's on Republicans?
No, if they don't want to participate in the debate, that's on you. That's fine. Make that choice. Go right ahead.
Right.
Yeah. So if you only want to go on the
But
conservative
that's not
media
purely
outlets,
on them. That's on the idea. And then these guys claim to be
hang on a second.
news.
It is on them, on the Republicans, because you're choosing not to participate. Just like if Kamala Harris is invited to a Fox News debate or a Newsmax debate and she goes, no, I'm not participating.
Right.
That's on her. She chose not to do that. I'm just saying,
But
I'm
again,
giving him
we're saying
agency
this
on
is
his choice.
mainstream media.
Yes.
This and this is what even a good percentage of conservatives watch. All that. We
Just a
have
percentage,
no
not good.
more neutral news agencies anymore.
Did we ever, though?
Yeah, I think we did.
I don't know
All
about
right,
that.
let's get to the phone lines. We got jam-packed phone lines. Before we get to Billy hits the button on Marcus, we'll get to you first. I thought Donald Trump did great. I liked him. He looked presidential. He was strong, particularly on foreign policy issues. Man, what a contrast with Kamala Harris, who couldn't answer for Afghanistan, had no response to the idea that she was with Zelensky 3 days before the invasion, that Joe Biden hasn't even talked to Vladimir Putin in 2 years. He sounded like a guy who could get the deal done. I was very impressed. The only criticism I have, Donald Trump's performance is continuing to get sucked into 2020 election issues, but that was something that the mainstream, lamestream David Smear brought up to try to bait Donald Trump, and he pushed back. But overall, I thought President Trump did great, looked presidential, and earned my vote. Let's go to Marcus Aurora. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Marcus.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to rumble? I really liked that debate.
What did you like about it?
Well, they kept trying to draw Trump. He didn't explode. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, he's going to go off. And he just didn't do it. And that was pretty amazing. Yeah, I just, not like Hillary Clinton, and he's been in a lot of debates. But what I did like about him, he said he'd debate again. He didn't care if it's ABC or anything else. But one thing, I looked at the closing statements. They're so totally different. And he just blew me away. And then they add to Harrison, well, Taylor Swift's voting for her. And I'm like, okay, what's this got to do with it?
Well, let's go look at the closing statements here. Here's part of Kamala's closing statement.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do.
Marcus, what do you think of that?
It was all garbage. What's your plan? What is your plan?
Marcus,
You're going to do all this stuff, but what are you going to do?
Same way, man. The great government's going to show up to bring down your cost of living and provide.
And how are you going to do
this job?
Oh, I started laughing. I said, "This is great. Sounds good."
Well, on the other side, did Trump outline his plans?
That's a fair critique that popped up yesterday. That in our panel discussion, that you didn't get a lot of what a second term was going to look like.
You got
but
nothing
go ahead.
on it.
Yeah. Hey, but listen to Donald Trump's closing statement. Play his, and you tell me which one has a plan.
All right, here's Trump's closing statement.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Now, I was up late last night. Maybe I fell asleep during that. Where was the policy statement?
No, that's entirely a critique of her. I will give you that, Bill. That's entirely a critique of her. And now, look, if she has to define herself on the national stage, which is what she needed to do, right? 53% of millennials want to hear more about who she is, all that stuff. And he spends his entire time rebutting her effort to define herself. I don't know if it was I don't think it was a waste by any means, but I mean, I'll give you, I fully agree with you, Bill. There's no vision for what the second term is going to look like other than it won't be hers.
Yeah. Now, Marcus, what did you think about that? Tell us your impressions.
Well, I looked at both of the closing statements, and so there was that rebuttal. But during the debate, Trump was telling what he was going to do.
No, he wasn't.
And drilling everything, but she didn't have a plan.
Well, actually, I would push back and say she outlined more policy than he did. Now, she was very scant on it. She said, I'm going to have this percentage here. I'm going to have these tax cuts. I'm going to do this. He had almost zero actual policy. And what I think is interesting on those closing statements is Kamala's was politician 101. That's the base closing statement you make in front of every crowd because nothing in there is necessarily offensive. It is, we're all more alike than we are. Our divides aren't that great. It's what brings us together, and we're going to do this together, and we're going to push this country forward, and we're going to feel great, and mom and apple pie loves us. And there's nothing contained in her that is in that closing statement that is substantive, but she ticks all the right political boxes to move you forward and to make you feel comfortable with her. Where Trump goes into his Festivus routine. It is an airing of the grievances, and that's going to be a problem with low information voters that sit there and see this woman who, again, I agree, Marcus, no plan there, but happiness. We're all together. This is America's vision. We can make this better. And Trump is, anger. This stinks. America's horrible. America's falling apart. War. That gives, for low information voters, the ones that are persuadable right now, that is a really bad separation between Trump and Harris. It is bad for Trump. That's a bad look.
Billy, I like it. And, I don't disagree with what you just said, but I'm just saying, when you say low average voter,
low information, not low average.
See that.
What I mean by low information is and what I mean by that, Mark, is are people unlike you and I and Jeff and William and Tony that are on the, that are waiting in line to talk to us and the rest of our listeners. We're high information voters. We're engaged in politics. We're talking about the people that are on the street when they go out there and they say, who's the current vice president? And they don't know. Those are the people we're talking about, that they come in and they just are trying to feel comfortable with the candidate. They want the candidate to make them feel comfortable and happy enough to vote for them. They're not engaged in politics. Politics is an annoying gnat in their ear, and they have to pay attention to it for about 3 months at most every couple of years. And that's what I'm talking about.
But the difference is it's what you give them to. If I give you free food, I'm voting for you, buddy.
Yeah, I can see
that's
that.
one thing.
Yeah.
But guys, also remember, and I'm looking at Politico right now, right? So Kamala Harris effectively dominated last night's debate. Look, if you're doing well these days financially, I think you can buy into the idea of we're all one. We need unity. We need to get rid of the chaos. But if you're really struggling, you're mad as hell. And you want somebody that's going to fight back against the direction of this country because things aren't great right now. And Donald Trump absolutely is, Billy, I'll give it to you. He's doubling down on that, on connecting with those people. Because if everything's going great for you, Donald Trump pointing out, what have you done the last 3.5 years? Where you been? All that stuff. That's not going to connect with you. But for those of you where things aren't going great, that absolutely connected. Where have you been? Things aren't right. Get off your butt, go down and make something happen. Why haven't you done it? So
that's an effective line of attack. That is the idea that what have you done the last 3 years?
Yeah.
It's very effective.
Marcus, appreciate the call.
Thanks, Marcus.
We just got jam-packed phone lines. Quickly call in if you want to get Marcus. Well, all right. Joe already did. 303-696-1971. We're going to be talking pretty much all morning. Definitely not going to forget that it's 9/11. We'll do a little bit of remembrance of that and where you were a little bit later in the show. So stick around for that. But we are all debate coverage. What'd you think last night? 303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy and I are debating the debate even off air.
Yeah, we are. It's fun.
Morning
great.
when you don't
Yeah.
get any sleep.
Oh, and on a side note here, this Oasis, Gallagher brothers are back together. They're doing a reunion tour. And right now, you can get odds on how quickly they'll break up, because that's kind of their thing. A couple of weekends ago, there were 4-1 odds in London about them breaking up before they even play their first tour date. And I was like, that's pretty good odds. That's pretty good odds given the brothers. So, yeah.
Where Billy and I were right before we launched was whether or not Trump won the debate, lost the debate. Kamala Harris won the debate, lost the debate.
Yeah.
From my perspective, Kamala Harris came across as incredibly scripted, inauthentic. Donald Trump came across genuine, more presidential, especially when it came to foreign policy issues. The only time I saw Kamala Harris master, I want to say, a particular policy issue with passion and drive was abortion. And even then, Donald Trump attempted to pin her down on this late-term abortion thing. It didn't come across that well. There's two other things I want to say real quick, Bill. One, everybody expected Donald Trump to show his age, that he was going to be like Joe Biden against Donald Trump. He was going to stumble over his words and be incoherent. Not at all. I thought he held his own the entire time. I will say this about Kamala Harris, though. She didn't do as bad as I thought she could have done, but I don't think at all she, quote, won the debate.
Yeah, see, I agree with you that I don't think she won the debate, but I do believe Trump lost the debate. And I think that was on him and his behavior. And I understand he didn't do the old man thing as far as Biden and the stuttering and the stumbling, but he did do the old man thing with just yelling at clouds. He would go way afield on certain topics. I mean, there was a time in one of the answers, he talked about how Kamala Harris is awful for the Jewish population and also awful for the Muslim population. So within one answer, he was playing to both sides of the issue as far as supporters. I'm like, what is this type of a thing? And there were times, and the number of times they had to redirect him back onto the question. Kamala also would maneuver outside the question, but her pivots were more elegant as far as how she accomplished it. But that's simply because of the skill that's involved. Again, that's not her winning it.
She never answered that first question. Were people off better 4 years ago?
Trump didn't answer a lot of questions either. And so that's the problem, is neither one of them did.
Let's go to the phone lines. William Littleton, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, William.
Morning.
So I've got my calendar out, and I'm trying to figure if you guys are buying me a steak dinner at Shanahan's or Dan's Diner. I can't remember what we decided.
And I'm trying to remember what the
decided.
terms were of the debate, too. Billy and I were trying to go, what were the terms?
Yeah,
of the
I remember the
debate?
terms.
So here was the terms. I bet you a steak dinner at Shanahan's that Donald Trump would not smoke her, which was the topic that you guys, and I think at least Jeff for sure said that this morning. And regardless of who won or didn't win the debate, that can be argument. I think it's pretty clear he didn't smoke her in that debate.
I would agree that he didn't smoke her, but I think, Jeff, you offered a different one, that if a different steakhouse.
I have to go back. I have to go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not opposed to getting a steak dinner. Well, happy to take you out.
You guys were broadcasting that morning from Dan's Diner.
Yeah,
right?
Doug's Diner. Yeah.
Doug's, yeah. How about Dan's Diner? So I just think we should follow up on that.
That sounds good. Now, why don't you think that Donald Trump smoked her? I thought he came across a lot more presidential than she did.
Well, here's the thing. Smoking is, of course, that's open to interpretation. But I think what you asserted was that she would be stumbling around and unable to answer and get into word salad and all those things. And I don't think she did any of that. Now, whether she avoided answers, whether she lied, those are things that both sides did. But as far as whether he smoked her or not, I think he did not.
Okay.
That's a fair point.
Well, I appreciate it.
William, I'm going to put you on hold. We're going to talk off air for a sec while we move on. Okay. Hang on for me.
Thanks, William. Let's go to who are we doing next? Tony, can you click the button on Tony? Tony Littleton. Always good to hear from you, Tony. What did you think of last night's debate?
Well, yesterday I told you I hadn't seen her debate enough to really assess how she would do, but I think she more than accomplished what she set out to do last night. She kind of went in with a traditional approach, tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And as she walked away from the debate, her theme about what her candidacy is going to be about got across. She got that across. She also, I think, very adeptly, and almost every answer that she gave, she'd always put a hook in there for Trump, something to agitate him. And more often than not, he would bite at that hook. And the one that comes to mind is when she slipped in something, can't even remember the question, but she slipped in something about him getting his $400 million from his dad and then all the bankruptcies, and he couldn't help himself. He had to open up as soon as he got to talk, and he talked about that. And that's kind of, so he was off balance all night. And I know you're saying, he's done really well, and I expect you guys to be doing that. Brett Baer from Fox said he had a terrible night. Eric Erickson said it wasn't the moderators when their lips were moving that sunk him. It's when his lips were moving that sunk him.
I do disagree with that, because look, this is where I think he was the strongest. I'll get your reaction, Tony.
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
I thought that was fantastic, Tony.
And what you did not play was the question that is going to be in ads here shortly, and that is, do you want Ukraine to win or not? And he would not answer that question.
Well, he wants the war to end.
He wants the war to end, and he will not say that he wants Ukraine to win. Now, Kamala Harris, whether you will disagree, you are a MAGA isolationist. She is taking the position, and she made it very clear. We are in this battle with democracies. We have a role to play, and she articulated that very well. America has an indispensable role to play, and we are in behind the democracy. We are not in behind the dictator. And you'll remember too, and it'll be another ad. He quoted one leader. It says, I'm the greatest. Viktor Orban, of all people, Viktor Orban. That's the only leader he quoted last night. That Americans understand that is an authoritarian leader, just on the verge of dictatorship, and he's quoting him as he's really supporting me. He thinks I'm the greatest. Well, he did not do well in that area. He does not look strong as
Tony, I appreciate the call. Look, I think the American people are frustrated with the fact that we can't figure out this Ukraine-Russia issue. It's not something they want to be a part of, whether or not it's this side wins or that side wins, but pouring money, billions of dollars into this, and they can't figure a way out. It's going to look like Afghanistan, and Donald Trump provided, from my perspective, great leadership there. Tony, appreciate the call. We'll continue jam-packed phone lines about last night's debate. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We are all about last night's debate and your analysis. Let's go to Joe Arvada. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Jeff. I mean, I think if the debate was a high school debate and we were looking at it in a vacuum, you know, we didn't know anything about these people, I don't think Donald Trump did spectacular. Obviously, it was a struggle session. You had three communists and an American. If you're going to put an American with, commentators, I mean, can you imagine if this was in the Gateway Pundits court and they asked Kamala, did you get an abortion after you slept with Willie Brown? Those are the kind of questions that they really nailed Trump with. Everything was about J6, and then what about the fact checking? There's only one person fact checked during the entire debate, Donald Trump, because Kamala just sat there being her communist self, and nobody seemed to notice that if we do what she's going to do, we may end up in World War III. We just heard somebody say that, Ukraine needs to win. Well, right after Ukraine wins, we get turned into a sheet of plasma. What do you not understand?
Wait, tell me, why do you think that nuclear war is going to start after Ukraine wins the war? Help me square that circle.
No, why don't you think that nuclear war will start? Because the Russians have made it clear that if Ukraine somehow got a hold of Moscow, the bombs are launching, dude.
Hang on,
don't you understand?
Dude, Moscow's the capital of Russia. Ukraine is trying to...
I understand.
Wait, stop. Ukraine's trying to defend their own territory. That's not the same thing. You're advocating that Ukraine's going to go in and take over Russia? The hell? That's just way outside of boundaries.
I mean,
I just don't understand
Bill,
where you're
I don't
going.
know if you could totally dismiss
Yes,
that,
you can.
right? Really?
Yes, you can. Yes.
You don't think that they're going to... I mean, hasn't Ukraine launched?
After the break.
All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City, the morning after the big rumble between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, providing all the coverage of last night's debate, but most importantly, your phone calls. And guess what, Billy?
Yes?
We got the text message machine back.
No, seriously. Oh, that's
but
fantastic.
it's a different number.
Oh, that's okay. That's
So,
we can adjust. We can
I want you to put this into your phones so you can text back and forth with Billy and I. The new 710KN text phone line is 303-335-0133. We got 303, baby. Makes us sound legit.
That's awesome.
Actual Colorado.
Jeez, that's nice.
303.
Geez.
Because those that had them are dying off, Billy.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Three get a little bit older there. 303-335-0133.
I still remember dialing without area codes.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I can go very, very OG. Okay. I have friends lived in smaller towns and lived in other smaller towns where all you needed were the last 4 numbers because everybody's prefix, the first 3 were the same. Yeah, no, but you could just dial. If your friend's phone number was, 753-1435, all you'd have to do is pick up and dial 1435 because everybody had that 753. I know. I'm very old.
Now you don't even remember phone numbers.
No,
you just type in the name.
Oh,
into your
my
phone.
man. I always say to my friends that if I ever lose my cell phone, I'm just going to have to become David Carradine in Kung Fu and wander the earth because I have no way to contact family, friends.
I could call
nothing.
my parents' house. That's about it.
Yeah, that's about all I can do too, sir. That's all I can do, my friend. That's it. I'm worthless.
All right. We've got a lot to cover. Absolutely jam-packed phone lines. We want to get your perspective on last night's debate. As you can imagine, Billy and I have different perspectives. I thought Donald Trump did great. And in fact, my poll on my X account, x.com/Jeff Hunt, it's over 200 votes right now, is saying that Donald Trump won the debate. I thought he looked presidential primarily. Look, I'm not going to say everything went his way, not every round. I don't like the fact he gets baited into 2020 election stuff, but I blame the media for bringing that up just as much as he wants to defend it. But on foreign policy, I thought he did fantastic. That's my perspective. Billy, a little bit different, but we want to hear yours. Let's first check in on the news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, guys. All right, the wall of hate is back. That is awesome. 60 and partly cloudy. No, it's the wall of love in the morning show. 60 and partly cloudy in Denver. Expecting a high of 85 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. David Smear and 2 other women ganged up on former President Trump last night in the first and possibly only debate between Trump and Vice President Harris. Trump in his closing statement. Like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation.
And Kamala Khan's new running mate, his name is David Smear. He did an outstanding job holding Harris's hand, injecting opinions, and what a middle-of-the-road objective moderator does. Here are more of his highlights.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out of the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
Yeah.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, "You lost by a whisker. that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short. Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020? I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
Judge looked at it
and said
they said we didn't have standing.
Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election.
He's going to make a great vice president. Here's Megyn Kelly after the debate.
Those two moderators tried to sink Donald Trump tonight. The numerous fact checks on what he said and none on what she said. None. I don't remember a single fact check of anything she said, and she lied repeatedly. She just got away with it. In the moderator's eyes, that was Donald Trump's job to fact check her. That's correct, except you didn't employ that same tactic when it came to Trump, and you accused him of lying even when it was your opinion that he lied.
Well, people around the globe remembering the victims of the 9/11 terrorist attacks today. This is the 23rd anniversary. Family members of the victims are gathering with local leaders in Lower Manhattan for the annual reading of the victims' names. Police have arrested a Loveland woman on a second-degree murder charge. Investigators say the charge is related to a man who died on Monday at a home along East 6th Street in Loveland. Police were called to the scene for a reported disturbance and found the man dead when they arrived. Authorities have identified the suspect as 32-year-old Heather Cushing, while the victim's identity will be released later. Wheat Ridge police say they're dealing with an increase in theft cases. They say the frequency of crimes like pickpocketing and shoplifting has gone up 5%, and a little over half of the thefts are occurring at local businesses. Just recently, 6 people were arrested for stealing at the Applewood Shopping Center in a single afternoon. 11th Judicial District Attorney Linda Stanley will be disbarred for misconduct related to the Suzanne Morphew case. The Colorado Supreme Court concluded that Stanley was absent during key parts of the prosecution. She's also accused of launching a personal investigation into the judge overseeing the Morphew case and speaking about the case with true crime podcasters. It's 56 in Broomfield, 57 in Littleton, and 60 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on Hump Day Wednesday morning after the debate. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning, Denver. Your 710 5-day forecast will start off with partly cloudy skies, then we do see a chance for some afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. Highs today in the middle and upper 80s, then clearing tonight with lows in the mid-50s. Drying things out, middle and upper 80s for Thursday. Sunshine, breezy winds out of the west and southwest, lower to mid-80s and sunny for Friday. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Dawn Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joe, we wanted to keep you around just a little bit longer because it was a short segment. You're so great.
Yeah.
So, and Kamala Harris, didn't she do better than people anticipated? Was it quite the word solid?
No, I think she was well trained and well guided by her handlers right there on the set. She had 2 of them, Communist A, Comrade B. It was so obviously slanted that ABC lost all credibility for ever handling a Republican debate again. What I mean by that is they can handle all the communists they want in their own struggle session, but no more Republicans should ever seat themselves on ABC, always been a communist.
Joe, I agree with you because look, with the way the media is running, you have record low trust right now in the media. You have people like Kyle Clark cheering what happened last night, claiming that the moderators were totally objective and provided balanced and reasoned analysis and questions for the debate. And everybody sat there and went, well, come on. Even if you're not a Trump supporter, you look at the fact that they fact-checked Donald Trump 5 times and did it at all of Kamala Harris. So these people are digging their own graves. This is exactly why people don't trust the media anymore.
Absolutely.
I would push back the other way a little bit, because some of the complaints during the Trump administration was the media didn't push back enough and would just let him run his mouth and say whatever he wanted and wouldn't do that. So that is what they were doing.
Who?
That was
They
a
were
critique.
constantly
Too busy
in
running the
fights.
Democrat Party.
No, but that was during the interview segments, they would sit there and they would just let him run, and that was always a critique about some of those interviews, that people weren't pushing back enough, that they weren't going after him enough, they weren't following up on questions.
Never heard that critique, because it was a constant battle between him and media the entire time. And even people that don't support Trump go, look, when Donald Trump's in office, at least you have a media that's supposed to do its job, right? It's a check on power. So if you're going to press back against Donald Trump, you're going to push, you're going to ask those questions, you're going to get in those battles. Okay, there's kind of a role for media to do that. But part of the problem is they don't do that at all to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. In fact, most of the coverage is positive with them. It's what's your favorite ice cream flavor. It's all that stuff. So they're not doing their job for the American people.
Okay, I understand the issue of coverage that's different during interviews and pushing back. And that's what I'm talking about. During those conversations, they got a lot of people critiquing them on when Donald Trump says things that are openly and blatantly false, that they weren't pushing back. And it's fair that at times they didn't do it on Joe Biden. That's a failure of the media.
Or Kamala Harris on Dana
Bash's
interview.
Yeah, well, she did a little bit, but not much. But yeah, but again, that's it. But again,
how about
they should have fact-checked Kamala more? But the list of things that were, hang on a second, I'll get you in a sec. But the list of things that Kamala was incorrect or lied about, and you brought a list earlier, is far smaller than the ones Trump did. Just degrees of magnitude, and that's okay. I agree that they should have had fact checks on both sides, but the ones that you talked about with Kamala were much smaller than the ones with Trump. But yeah, good, Joe, go ahead.
Well, the two that stand out in my mind are the Charlottesville BS. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fair. They should have been fact-checked.
It was always debunked, and there was never a time when Donald Trump meant what they said. See, they try to put words in Donald Trump's mouth.
Yeah,
and
you're
then
right.
the other
But
one,
hold on,
the
Joe,
other
real
one,
quick before you jump on. And this is the same person that talked about unity, bringing people together, a common vision for moving forward. And she continues to divide people by race by claiming stuff that Donald Trump never actually said. Go ahead.
Well,
Sorry,
how about there was other things like, okay, the abortion issue. Really, Democrats don't want abortion in the 7th, 8th, and 9th month? I mean, and what about there's been many states where they've actually had the baby die out of the womb. Where were they saying that?
Yeah,
what are the examples of that, though? I mean,
they're all over the place.
No,
you just
they're not,
don't
Joe.
look.
They're not all over the place.
Yes,
and
they are.
No, they aren't. And he had one example
Well,
of
Charlie
a governor
Kirk
that's
has
not.
some news for you.
Then that's fine. That's whatever with Charlie. He can do his own thing. But the issue was he came back to one governor that was saying it that wasn't in power, and they were talking about it. And Kamala did fail on that abortion question, because during the 7th, 8th, and 9th month, she should have said that when the mother's life is in danger, the choices need to be made at that point. But saying we can't make that choice is wrong. That's what she should have said. She should have addressed it. It's a fair critique.
In both Minnesota and Colorado, Republicans have introduced similar bills, because I sat down at the state capitol when this happened. That's why I know. And I posted about it last night. Republicans ran a bill requiring medical attention be given to a child that survives an abortion and is living outside the womb. Okay. So we went in there, we tried to do the abortion. And for whatever reason, it didn't work. The baby has come out and it's breathing. Okay. This is outside the womb. Democrats in Colorado specifically killed that bill. You can't make any mistake on this. Democrat lawmakers are all for late term and post-birth abortion. And people will say, well, what's post-birth abortion? Isn't that homicide? Yes, it is. And when you bring it up, Democrats get all weird about it.
Well, why didn't you just charge them with murder then? Why would you need
They
the extra
should
law?
be.
I
Well, then
agree.
why aren't they being charged with murder then?
Because of
Good
Kamala
question.
Harris being a prosecutor.
No, because
That's
nobody's
why.
charged. No one has charged them with them because you have so
They're all
infrequently
They
that they're not.
hide it.
anymore.
Oh, that's it. Okay, so it's the idea that if it
Yeah.
does, since we can believe this thing happens all over the place, but it's not being prosecuted.
It does.
Yeah, no, it's just like the immigrants.
There's
eating the
a-
cats.
50 million
Same
abortions.
thing.
No, 75. Sorry, 75 now.
Yeah, but they
Really?
but they didn't give birth to the kids and then smash their heads like one of our callers
Some
always
of
talks
them
about.
did.
No,
Yes.
So
that didn't
this
happen.
look, if
Yes,
Democrats were so repulsed by the idea of elective late-term abortions and not providing care for a child that survives the abortion and is sitting outside the womb breathing, why would they reject any effort to put restrictions on those? They always do.
Well, if you concede that point, I will concede this point, Billy, that at the end of the debate, Donald Trump didn't really give his vision for the new 4-year term. And the reason being, were you not alive during the last 4-year term? We watched Donald Trump wave the magic wand and turn the economy into gold.
No,
and
he
we
didn't.
don't need him. Yes,
No,
he did.
no, he didn't.
Let me finish. He didn't need to explain what he was going to do because we saw what he did. And he doesn't need to explain how he's going to drill, baby, drill, how he's going to turn loose the American freedom economy and stop regulations. He already did it.
Yeah, he didn't say any of that the last night, and that's the problem, Joe. Is he went back and he did airing of the grievances. He turned around and, in my mind, what he did for those low information voters is reinforce their predetermined questions about how he's going to behave in office. He went back to his worst instincts rather than being the policy guy that everybody said he had to do. That if he did policy, he could beat Kamala. If he did policy, the Republicans are going to win. And what did he do? Personal grievances. That's a problem.
Let's get to the phone lines here. By the way, give us a call. Your perspective, 303-696-1971. Keep trying if the phone lines are busy. It's going to be quite a morning. Let's go to Ron Greeley. Good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning, guys. Wow, what a crazy morning, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Yeah, right. Trump did not kill it. Of course not. 3 against 1, he did pretty darn good. There's so much stuff that wasn't said. You know what I really would have liked to have heard when they brought up whether she's black or not and how he interpreted it?
Yeah, well,
I would have liked for him to look at her and say, what are you? Are you African American or are you Indian? I would have loved for him to ask that simple question because that's a gotcha point or moment, because she would have to say she's Indian.
I loved his
African-American.
response. His response took the entire wind out of that argument to the point where Kamala Harris couldn't do anything, where he just goes, I don't care. I don't care. I thought that was great.
I agree, but I would have loved for her to give an answer because they're still playing on it. Because I don't know, you guys tell me, when you hear the term she's black, do you think the color of her skin, or do you think African American?
What I found interesting about the whole thing is if you move into this perspective of you can be black and Indian at the same time, you're moving race more into kind of what we would traditionally call like background. Like you're Polish or you're Italian, or like for me, I'm English and Irish, right? So you're combining things, but that's not traditionally how we've looked at race in this country, right? So if you say that Kamala Harris is both black and Indian, then at the same time, Barack Obama was both black and white. So he was a black president and a white president.
Right, but he never ever played on the white. Just like with Kamala, she's not. Where do they get black from? She's not African American because they say Jamaican is not African American.
Well, Ron, you're hanging your hat. Wait, you're hanging your hat on that term though. But she is black based on her heritage, based on her family, based on her father. Also,
no, she's not. That's not
yes,
African American.
Wait. Hang on a sec. Hold on, Ron. Ron, you may not be aware of this, but there are black people that are indigenous outside of just Africa. That is existence. That people in Haiti.
Once
not
again,
wait,
I'm not
Ron,
to.
hang on. No, Ron. People in Haiti, black, not African. You're hanging your argument on one specific term, not based on the melanin, the color of her skin, or her heritage. And she has claimed and said she is black starting as early as college. She went to a historically black college. She pledged to one of the oldest black sororities in America. Yes, that she has leaned into this all the time. It's just now that you guys are paying attention to it that now you just realized it. That's it. That's it, man.
No. Here's the thing. I asked a simple question that neither one of you answered, surprisingly. I asked, is black considered, when you hear the term black, do you normally think African American?
Not all the time, no.
I just don't get the distinction. I'm sorry.
And
I just don't understand it.
Well, whenever you hear the term black, everybody's going to, it's just across the board. 80% of the time, I'd be willing to guess people are going to think you're African American, and that's fine.
I know.
I have no problem.
That. I know
black
that, but
skin is not a problem either. I don't mind if they're black skinned. That's not a problem.
Then why are you mad about the
trying to
term?
make it sound like you're a brother, and you're not.
Why are you
She's
making
over there playing the term of Charlemagne and trying to act like she's thrown in Tupac when he wasn't even around, and that's when they asked her who's your favorite live rapper, and she says Tupac. She's like, yeah, he's dead. She's just not with it, and she's trying to be. That's what's really getting me. That's why I'm hanging my hat on that, because it's an issue that is so false, and it is just so. You've got to be kidding me.
Ron, the thing is that you're deciding that black people have to be African American. You've decided that has to be their culture and their representation. You have ignored things like Bob Marley. You've ignored the influence of those. You've ignored.
No, that's your opinion.
No,
that's your opinion, Bill.
No, Ron, that's what you've just been outlining. You've been outlining that because she isn't the right kind of black, you don't trust her. That's what you've been saying.
No, that's your opinion, and you're entitled to it.
That's what you said.
It's very, very bad.
Yes.
You're about as far off as you can get off that opinion.
Who was the one in this conversation that asked whether or not she was from Africa? That was African American. You discounted anybody else.
African American. Everybody knows that when you go into when you fill out applications, everything. African American black normally means you're African American.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Ron. That's exactly what I meant.
I
just closed the circle for me.
I still don't get.
Ron, that's exactly what I meant. That's exactly.
I don't understand the distinction. So that wasn't the direction I was sitting there going.
It was important for him to the distinction. I don't understand it either.
Okay,
but that was an important distinction for him, and I don't get it.
Ron's line will be open 303-696-1971. James Golden, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. Not the actual James Golden from Rush Limbaugh, but James from Golden. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
I just want to make a statement. First of all, I'm an independent voter, and I am I'm sorry. I'm an independent voter, and I just want to say that, like one of the other callers said, Trump really doesn't have to state anything about what he's going to do in this next term if he gets elected. Everybody knows how the economy was rocking along, and we were pretty good with no wars, and I'm sorry, but he did pretty good about, bashing on her on his way out,
So I got a question, James. Have you ever voted for a Democrat?
Yes, I did.
And
I voted for Obama.
Okay. And so will this be your third Trump vote? I'm just trying to get a sense. Have you gone through a journey and now you're solidly into the Republican camp with regards to Donald Trump, or will this be?
Yeah, I am. I'm a Trumpster, I guess. And let me say, I worked for a union shop for 25 years, and I just retired last year.
That's great.
But I'm also a gun lover, and so I always had to weigh between those two things because Republicans, for some reason, hate union workers. Okay. And that's a fact. And then, but the Democrats like to take your rights away. So, you know, and
was that the big point for you? Like, so you were a Barack Obama voter, you're now a Donald Trump voter. Tell me about that transition.
Well, the main reason I voted for Obama years ago was because it wasn't because of his policies. He's like, oh yeah, we're going to make, you know, it's going to be great again or whatever. He never had stated a policy. You know, Obama never ever did. It's going to, you know, I just did it because he is black. You know, at the time, I wanted to take at the time, the blacks were, or, you know, African-American, whatever you want to call them, were always like, well, there's never going to be a black president. And so I wanted to take that away from him because there was a black president, even though they say, oh, he was white. They deny he was really a black president. Okay. But then, you know, we went through some Bush years and, I don't know, in 2016, I remember I thought Trump at that time even would be a great president because he's not a politician. He would treat it like a business. And he did. He had like the Secretary of State and all the secretaries and stuff. If they didn't do their job, he would fire them. Okay. The only thing that really took down his presidency was he had too many deep state people that were really against him, embedded in the CIA, the FBI, everywhere. And but I voted for him, and I'll vote for him again.
Yeah, but
wasn't he, last couple of years?
But James, wasn't he supposed to clean out the swamp? Wasn't that something that he promised to do? And then he was going to hire only the best people, and the people that he hired, he turned around and fired. Something that you talked about being great. Those are people he chose, and he told us at the Jump Street that he was going to hire the best. And then he turns around and fires them and then says they weren't the best. That either is an indictment on his decision making or an indictment on the people, one or the other. And that's part of it.
Well, yeah, but you know, but you look at it, sometimes he surrounded himself with people that he thought was going to help him, but then they turn around to be bastards and they, oh yeah, we'll just do this instead.
But again, hang on, isn't that also an indictment on his decision making? If we're saying that he makes all these great decisions about the people around him and the people he chooses and these interpersonal relationships, it's an indictment on his decision making when you say he chooses all these bad people. Either he chooses good people or bad people. And right now you're saying he chose some bad people. That is not a positive thing to say put him back in the White House to choose more bad people.
Yeah, he chose some bad people. But at the time, you know, they were like wolves in sheep clothing. They were advertising, like, hey, I'm not going to do this or whatever. But then they would turn around and stab me in the back. You know, I mean, and
yeah, see, on that one, I understand that. But the thing is, you are assuming a conclusion. You assume these people got into this position in order to stab him in the back. Not that they got into this position because they wanted to help the American people. I would submit that Rex Tillerson, the CEO of Exxon, he wasn't coming in there to stab Trump in the back. He was coming in there to protect oil and gas and to move things forward. And then he was disillusioned at what he saw inside the Oval Office. And now all of a sudden he's a bad person. He wasn't part of the deep state in any way, shape, or form, but he was one of those guys that walked away. And then Trump said he was awful afterwards. Same thing, and that's a problem.
I know that's a problem, but and also I agree with you with like at the end there where he turned on Pence. And you know about awful. Oh yeah, I agree with you on that kind of thing, but I think that he still did better with the economy, defense, and everything else than these last couple of years. Okay, he did. Let me just say that I'm a retired Air Force and Colorado Air Guard, and I know, like military wise and stuff, you know, the way they got out of Afghanistan was crap.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
James, I appreciate the call.
Thank you. And
Thanks
appreciate
so
your
much.
service, man. You did something I don't have the spine to do, that you raised your hand and gave your mind, heart, body, and soul to this country. Thank you. I don't have that in me, my man. So yeah, you've got one up on me on that, and I appreciate it. And thanks for the call. And I want to talk to everybody right now about, you know, last night was kind of a pain. There were some things you're sitting there going, oh, this is ridiculous. This is just going to grind me. And Yeah, I've been feeling that pain as well, but I'm talking about physical pain. Here's the thing. I thought I was going to have to live my life in physical pain. I thought I was getting to that point where I'm getting the old man and you just get up and out of the chair and then you can complain about the weather because you can feel it in your joints as it's moving in. And I didn't know it didn't have to be that way. Do you know that? Do you know that you don't have to live with that pain you're dealing with every single day? Those aches, those things that are constraining what you want to do today, they can be taken care of. They can be wiped off the mat. But first, you've got to talk to my friends at Balance Wellspace. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. It's a brand new office right here in Lowry. They've got new offices. They're just across the street from Hangar 2. Wonderful parking. But here's what makes them different. Integrative medicine. In one office, they can offer chiropractic care, neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, so many things all at once. They have a whole series of other modalities and even some non-invasive cutting-edge things that are mind-blowing. But you don't get to experience them if you don't talk to them. And this is what they do. You call them, you set an appointment, you go and you talk to Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, the team. They evaluate you. They poke, they prod, they ask you about your pain, but most importantly, they ask you about the things you're not doing and what are your goals. That's the important part. After they take all their pictures, they then get together and design a custom pain plan just for you. Then they go to work. They start fixing those things that are wrong. Now, here's the next level of care that you're going to get at Balance Wellspace. They are going to reevaluate your care every few weeks. They're going to go back and they're going to look at your movement, where you were before. They're going to talk to you about your pain and talk to you about achieving your goals. If something isn't working, they're going to adjust. If something's working really well, they're going to lean into that. That's important in getting you better. When's the last time your medical team talked about you? I could wait for next half hour and there's no answer because they don't. Because you're going to see a series of doctors at different offices and they're never going to get on the phone and discuss you. That's not what's important to them. They just want to make sure you get the next appointment and they keep grinding through the system. Balance Wellspace is about making you feel better. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. This past weekend, this old man looked over during a concert at the mosh pit. And I'm thinking, I could go for 5 minutes. No, I couldn't. But that's how good I felt. I felt so good, so pain-free from where I have been in my life that I thought this old man could at least spend 5 minutes in that mosh pit. I would have gotten destroyed. But that's how good I felt. I want you to feel that good as well, where you're doing things you never thought were possible over the last couple of years. Talk to them, balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. I want them to make the change in your life they're doing in mine. Talk to my friends at balancewellspace.com and do me a favor. Tell me you heard about them here on Jeff and Bill.
Great to hear you're getting that care there, Bill. We'll continue with all the phone calls, jam-packed phone lines. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy, I counted twice that DJT brought up Aurora, Colorado.
I did too. I was taking some notes and I'm like, hey, he shouted out Aurora. not in a good way, but still. We got
Mr.
mentioned.
Trump.
Yeah.
Mr. Trump. You remember Mr. Trump from Jose?
Yeah. Yep.
So I posted that on my X account last night, Jose's interview. I'll post part 2 of it today. But remember, this was a Mexican immigrant that said that Maduro was sending criminals to America, giving them $300, essentially affirming what Donald Trump is saying about illegal immigrants. Kyle Clark last night going, he's going to create real problems for Aurora if Donald Trump continues the lies that he's going to talk about.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Now that's the thing is I appreciate Jose when he talked about that with it because he's the first person I've heard talking about the Venezuelan criminals being given money and come up here. It's the first one that I've heard being able to substantiate that story. So before I was unpersuaded by it. Now I'm thinking it could possibly happen. The problem was when Trump got into the crime issue, as far as crime rates in all these countries are dropping while it's going up here. That's difficult because again, and then when he was confronted with some of the idea that that's not really true based on numbers, he was like, well, the numbers are wrong. That's easy to say because if the numbers showed that, then he would say, look at the numbers, the numbers are right. So he's just discounting the numbers based on he doesn't agree with his position. Not that he doesn't necessarily believe him, because if we had a 25% increase in violent crime since the Trump administration, he'd be pointing to the numbers all day. And he'd say those numbers are solid.
There's an organization called the Marshall Project that's pointing out that the FBI is changing how they're tabulating these numbers, and that's leading to some, that I think Trump's referencing that we're not getting the same accurate numbers that we used to with regards to crime, and Marshall Project's looking at that. But I want to get to the phone lines. Mary, Wyoming. Always good to hear from Mary. Good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
I have to say that I was surprised at Kamala. She did. Her content was very light. She didn't talk about her policies really, but I decided to listen to the debate on the radio versus watching, the actual, viewing the photos.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because it gives you a different perspective. I didn't see all the face moving that was talked about or body language that she was giving out as Trump was responding. So to me, she sounded more, I want to say, presidential. However, I really struggled with that they were not fact checking her. You mentioned a couple of the issues, but remember she said that there was none of our military was in conflict. I mean, that is so opposite. We have the the ones in in not in Haiti, but in the military ones. I mean, we've had people that have SEALs that have been killed.
Yeah.
And she wasn't fact checked on any of that stuff.
No, she should have. And I think what she was trying to do is refer to the idea that we don't have any active combat theaters in which America is participating in. We are doing some what you would call police work. But again, you're right about that. And you are right. And Jeff is right as well, that it was a one-sided fact check. That is fair. I agree with that. And I concede that was not necessarily fair in that setting. Yeah.
And no, there's those. I did not like that she did not. And I want to bring up the issue that I think Joe talked about on being black.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What do you think of Trump's response?
Well, I think that was I didn't like the response, but I'm also saying I'm so tired of her using race when it benefits her. I mean, in other words, she ran as an Indian legislator, and because that was the crowd that she was focusing on getting the votes from, and then she has been using the African American now because that's going to get her votes. So I'm just saying she's an opportunist, and so in other words, that she's using the race card.
That's fascinating, Mary, that you talk about that. Help me understand from your perspective the idea that you can be both Indian and black. Are we moving race into that kind of category of heritage, that I'm both German and English?
I would say yes. I mean, in other words, is anything that will possibly get you votes is going to be used. That she, that she's a female. I loved when you guys were talking about the issue about the language when she was using Ebonics. I'm bilingual. I mean, I grew up with Ebonics, but my parents said it's not going to get you a job, so you better learn English and you better use it. And they wouldn't allow me to use Ebonics at home. But I noticed that if I can get around a whole group of Black people that I grew up with, I use Ebonics.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is, and I, the thing for me is that I think that we have been more of a multiracial society and people giving credit for we've liked to identify as one specific race or heritage. And in my family, it was Irish, but it was always reinforced that I am right around 70% Irish based on the genetics of my parents. And there also was Welsh and Austrian thrown in there. And we always did talk about it. Now, Irish, because I'm mostly Irish, that was the number one most important. But in my life, I never went around that it was only one or the other. And I grew up with a lot of different multiracial people. My cousin was multiracial. Two of my best friends growing up through high school and earlier were multiracial. So the idea of, people having different heritages or multiple heritages inside of a family was something that was regular to me. I find it weird that now we're like, well, she has to choose if she's Black or Indian. That's never been my experience. I find it weird that we're having to make that choice.
I agree with you on that. And I'm hoping that when we go, and we're talking about the debate, my concern is I wish he had brought up more about her being a communist. I didn't think that was really addressed as much as it needed to be brought up, that her positions are, even though that they weren't described in anything else, they're communistic.
It's a worldview, especially if you read just the opening page of the Communist Manifesto. You don't have to go read all of it, but all of history is a battle between oppressors and the oppressed. That comes from the Communist Manifesto, and that's part of her worldview. Mary, really appreciate the call.
Yeah,
always good to hear from you. If you're like me, you know that living in Colorado means dealing with unpredictable weather, hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it. We've got it. That's why you need a roofing company that you can trust, and that's Colorado's Best Roofing. They're local, family-owned, and have served the Denver area for over 12 years. They understand our unique climate and how to build a roof that lasts. Whether you need a repair after a storm or a whole new roof, Colorado's Best Roofing has got you covered. And here's what I really love. They offer a free, no-obligation inspection. They'll come out, take a look, and give you an honest assessment. No pressure, no gimmicks. Just straight talk from the pros. Plus, they work with your insurance company to make sure you get the best coverage you deserve. So don't wait until the next big storm hits. Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today at 303-797-7663 or visit them at roofingcolorado.com. That's 303-797-7663 or roofingcolorado.com. Trust the best. Colorado's Best Roofing. We'll be having Steve, the president and CEO of Colorado's Best Roofing, in the studio a little bit later today. Steve Walker, looking forward to seeing him. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Absolutely jam-packed phone lines. Let's get to Dan Littleton. What do you think of that debate last night, Dan?
Good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call quick. I gotta say, I didn't watch much of the debate because when I turned it on, it was the same thing over and over. We've seen it countless times. So just to give you some perspective, I wanted to watch the entire thing. However, having 2 kids and a family definitely takes some of your time up. But when I did turn it on, it's the same behavior. It's the same type of, it's just the same behavior that you see countless times. The finger pointing, the yelling, the not standing on the focusing on true facts of matters. And it's merely just Trump going off on a tangent again. And don't get me wrong, I personally stand for the right, stand for the conservative side. I'm all about upping the supply of the country instead of restricting usage.
Dan, I got to ask a question. When was the time, give me a candidate that you really liked how they performed in a debate? Was it Bush? Was it Romney, McCain?
Reagan. And that's before I was even born.
Yeah.
But you look at it. The thing that I have the biggest issue with is if Trump could just put his ego aside, and you guys mentioned it too, take the personal, what did you call it? The personal
attacks,
vendettas.
Yeah.
The personal attacks that he has on himself. Put that aside, put his ego aside. He could have stood there. I only watched it for 5 minutes. Stand there, be a mature adult, stay calm. Because he's not only
Dan,
having to fight
did you support Trump in the primary? You sound like a DeSantis or maybe a Nikki Haley voter.
Yes,
if you don't want to share,
but more DeSantis, but Trump has proven. We had a caller back, a couple callers ago that said, yes, we know what Trump can do, and yeah, I agree. Trump can do a lot of great things, but no one's going to hear him and no one's going to listen to him if the personal vendettas just keep coming out. Trump, grow up.
Dan, I appreciate the call.
Yeah,
Look,
Dan, I think you're right.
I understand there's Republican voters out there that do not like that side of his personality. At this point, though, I think there's a majority of the Republican voters, and this is why he won the primary, that love that fight and want to take it to the deep state, want to take it to the big media establishment, want to take it to the radical left. And last night, the personal pushback that didn't bother me at all. I enjoyed it. So
I think that's a big weakness that Dan said. He saw more of the same. Trump was rejected last time. Is more of the same going to work?
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. A very special show as we provide post-debate analysis. Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, probably the only debate we'll see between the two of them. How'd they do? What do you think?
I like when you said it's a very special show. It made me feel like those old after-school specials, like today on a very special edition of Jeff and Bill, we discuss things that should not be inserted into openings in your body. We will talk about painful
Things that will
and
make you
difficult,
particularly uncomfortable today.
Exactly. It sounded like my friend. I love that.
And was it a crowded debate last night? Maybe more involved in the debate than should. Was it 3-on-1 between DJT and the media? And I've just... When all of this collapses and we all get our news from X, which is where we're headed, and nobody watches ABC anymore, I'm going to just be like, guys, you did it all to yourself. You did it all to yourself. I'm sorry. You go out there and claim to be news. It's on your moniker. And then you gang up fact-checking Donald Trump 5 times, not once Kamala Harris. And there's plenty to fact check Kamala Harris about. But I digress. Let's get into the news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Great show. Can't wait for the remainder. 63 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 85 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry.
And then there's the lawfare and even more lawfare here in this country, weaponizing of the justice system. Trump has gone through that and going through that. And where were you, David Smear? You don't care about the news and the truth. Last night, though, he did a good job helping Kamala Harris, the first and possibly only debate between Trump and Vice President Harris.
We rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
All right, back to David Smear, one of the moderators, injecting opinions and guiding Harris along the way. The drive-by media. Here are some of his highlights. Love them.
I didn't detect the sarcasm. Lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
no
Republican,
judge looked at it
and said
they said we didn't have standing.
Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war? Yes or no?
I think he was just horrible. One of our listeners, Joe, brings it on the regular. Go ahead, Joe.
You had 3 communists and an American. If you're going to put an American with, commentators, I mean, can you imagine if this was in the Gateway Pundits court and they asked Kamala, did you get an abortion after you slept with Willie Brown? Right. Those are the kind of questions that they really nailed Trump with. Everything was about J6, and then what about the fact checking? There was only one person fact checked during the entire debate.
And one person was more angry than me last night. Megyn Kelly. It's coming. It froze.
The worst piece of all of this is the obvious tactic by ABC News, which was as follows. Mr. Trump, you said something incredibly controversial and terrible. Let me remind you of what it was. Do you have any regrets or thoughts on how terrible you were? Trump answers. Vice President Harris, how bad is Trump? And then she'd answer. It happened over and over again. That was the format. Mr. Trump, you're a piece of shit. Kamala Harris, isn't he a shit? Thank you. It was incredible. And then anything Trump said, fact check, fact check, fact check. And their fact checks were full of shit.
People around the globe remembering the victims of 9/11, the terrorist attacks today. This is the 23rd anniversary. Family members of the victims are gathering with local leaders in Lower Manhattan for the annual reading of the victims' names.
Blake, where were you on 9/11?
Oh, man, I was a bright, sunny day getting ready to go to the Broncos facility, believe it or not, because Ed McCaffrey had just broken his leg the night before against the Giants in Monday Night Football, and that was all called off.
Wow. Now, Blake, you know the Ed McCaffrey story for 9/11, don't you, on the next day?
Yeah, he was out, and then he woke up.
He wakes up after the towers have fallen. So he doesn't see any of that. And so he wakes up with a broken leg and is trying to recover. And then his text messages had blown up and he turns on the TV. I mean, imagine being dark for that period of time and then popping in and seeing that coverage. Talk about just an entire change of what happened. Did I fall through some sort of, black hole?
Exactly.
And I've gone to an alternative reality. Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
Then the crazy thing that, they played the New York Giants the night before, hours before, and the Giants are flying home. It was surreal for him. And he's talked about it numerous times, but it was just, I'll never forget it. And I'll never forget being in that locker room because, everything came to a stop. No one cared about the Broncos. No one cared about and then talking to the players, I'll never forget Lenny Friedman, offensive lineman for the Broncos, talked about misguided religion. And most everyone in that locker room, they had no idea what was going on. I didn't have any idea what was going on. And it was that day when I said, I'm an idiot. I know all about football and NFL and the college football and the history of sports or whatever, but I don't get this. That is the day I started listening to Dennis Prager, that day. And I'll never forget it. I mean, been listening to him ever since. It's just incredible. Wow. That was an amazing day. Also, another twist to that, there was a coach who was on the staff, really good dude. He grew up in Lebanon. He was Catholic. So he experienced all of that. He escaped Lebanon and went through all the tyranny and the hate and made it to the United States of America when he was in high school. He landed in Watts and he grew up the rest of his life in Watts, and he was like, oh man, this is beautiful. This is amazing. I mean, I lived in Lebanon, as a kid, and threw rocks at me as I went to school. And, he told this story, and it was just fascinating. This is all in the Broncos locker room a day after 9/11. So brings up a lot of memories.
That was transformative for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Deal.
No, it was. No, it totally changed my life. I mean, I was kind of in the center somewhere, and then
sounds
right
like
after
most sports guys I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we're ignorant, just really ignorant. But I was like, man, I'm such a dummy. I got to figure out what is this world all about. So here's what it's all about. Authorities are looking for a person, remember I said that, who attacked employees and customers at a Colorado Panera Bread. Natalie Wiersma says that she was just trying to get lunch at a location on Cherry Creek Parkway in Glendale.
I wasn't even attacked, but I was still shaken up.
Wiersma recorded the outburst. In the video, one employee can be seen holding the person down while another hits the suspect over the head with a pizza paddle. Witnesses say it started after the person allegedly started throwing things at a staff member and demanding their phone. Then customers got involved. Police say it's still an active search for a suspect named Isaac Ross, also known as Kendall Ross. Now, here's the problem with our society. We're afraid to say what we saw. It's a dude with long hair, okay? And in the story, it's written a person. They keep on saying a person. It's a guy with long hair, and he probably identifies as a woman. His name is Kendall Ross or Isaac Ross, but it's not, it's a dude. He's long, he's tall, he's strong. And this is the problem that we get into when we say, well, it's actually, it may have been, no, it wasn't a lady. It was a dude with long hair, and he was trying to beat the crap out of people in Panera Bread. So thankfully, everyone's okay there. They're still looking for him, though. He has long hair, and he's really tall, and he's strong. 59 in Brighton, 60 in Englewood, 63 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Hump Day Wednesday, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning, Denver. Your 710 5-day forecast will start off with partly cloudy skies. Then we do see a chance for some afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. Highs today in the middle and upper 80s, then clearing tonight with lows in the mid-50s. Drying things out, middle and upper 80s for Thursday. Sunshine, breezy winds out of the west and southwest, lower to mid-80s and sunny for Friday. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, it's jam-packed phone lines today on the Jeff and Bill Show as we provide post-debate analysis. What'd you think of Donald Trump's performance, Kamala Harris's performance, and the other two that were joining in the debate? The folks, the reporters from ABC that jumped right in there.
In the wrestling parlance, that's a fatal four-way. And sometimes there are alliances that are made that one person just gets the smack beat out of them for about 15 minutes because everybody takes turns. So yeah, I get it, my friend.
That is exactly right. Let's go to Francis Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Hey, gang. Hey, I listened to most of the debate on the radio, and then I caught like some snippets, basically visually, on CNN afterwards. And I got to give the devil its due. CNN did a pretty good job of post-debate coverage. It really did. It was not, in my opinion, biased. It was actually pretty accurate. But here's my thing on Trump is that I think he does not prepare. And I don't know if it's just not in his nature. I don't know if he needs to go on some sort of, ADHD medication or something, but he's clearly prepping, if he's prepping at all, for another talk with Biden, not Harris. And that's easy to do because you just run the mics and let Biden fall all over himself. Harris didn't do that last night. And it bugs me. There's so many missed opportunities. I think the moderators were shamefully bad. And I think that Trump could have, and I think this could be anticipated with any preparation. He should have just, as soon as they start fact checking him, I think you just look at the moderator and you say, I appreciate your fact checking me, and I will accept your facts for the purposes of answering this question. And I invite you to do the same to my opponent, and leave it at that. And it shuts that nonsense down. That guy won't be pulling that crap anymore. But so I think that's a missed opportunity. I think a lot of these things are just missed opportunities. Neither of them, they all said they have plans. None of them actually even got a skeletal format of a plan for anything. I think Trump needs to debate her again. And I think he needs to do a better job of prepping and just not prepping for a doddery old fool like Biden.
Yeah. Now, Francis, I want to ask you a question about this one, because one of the things that everybody talked about beforehand, and I agree with them, is that if Trump comes in and does policy, he appears much stronger, appears more presidential, And it's better for him because the vast majority of Americans will likely agree with his policies versus Harris policies. Now, this is the $25,000 question. Does Trump have it in his DNA to do policy?
Not if he gets baited into things like he let Harris do last night. He doesn't have it in his DNA to do policy. And it does worry me because who is he surrounding himself with? Are these people actually able to formulate plans and policy? I don't know that. It appears to me on the surface, if Trump is the final product that's being put out there, that the people he's surrounding himself with can't do that. And it's not a good look. It just isn't. He gets baited into things. He got baited into abortion stuff that he should have immediately shut down. He got baited into crowd size. You know what you could have done if you were Trump, honestly, if you just you start talking about Kamala's going on about crowd size. It's so simple. You just simply say, I haven't attended a Kamala rally because I haven't been to her basement, because that's apparently where she's campaigning from, and just make a little zinger out of it, and it shuts that down. And guess what? Everybody remembers that, not how you're trying to defend your crowd size.
Look, I just think we're in a different time. We've had political leaders like that. I worked for Mitt Romney. It was, oriented towards policy discussions. And here you had a guy from Harvard, and where did Barack Obama? He went to one of the Ivy Leagues too, right? So you had two of the Ivy League guys sitting there doing highbrow discussions about policy. I think people want a fighter. They see Donald Trump go out there. It's not about policy. It's about throwing elbows, taking on this uniparty. We didn't even get into that yesterday. We didn't talk about Dick Cheney supporting Kamala Harris during the debate, whether or not she's willing to accept that endorsement. I would have loved that question. And we didn't even talk about the assassination attempt. How does that not? This is the first time in 40 years that took place, and not a single question about it. So Francis, I appreciate.
That was weird.
I appreciate your longing for a substantive discussion on policy, but I just think that our candidates reflect our culture, and where we are as a culture right now, especially Republicans, is they are exhausted with the direction that the radical left has taken this country, and they want somebody that is just going to give it as just as good as he's going to take it.
Let me give you one thing here, because I don't disagree with you. I think that right now our culture wants a lot of red meat, and there's a lot of lowbrow kind of, stupidity out there. I think that the fighter part can be taken up in tone of delivery, so in other words, get some skeletal policy out there and deliver it with a tone that you mean business, not this tone of just nonsense like Harris is throwing out there, just chicken in every pot and 25 grand for every first time home buyer. And that's where I think you could make some traction. And then maybe that does appeal to the beer and circuses masses of people. If you deliver it in tone, maybe that works.
Yeah, now, Francis, there was something you talked about there with the idea of Trump taking the bait. And you're the second caller this morning that mentioned that. And I noticed that about third or fourth time Kamala did it. And it was, I don't know if she was just doing it off the cuff or if it was tactical, but she would, at the end of an answer, load something in there emotionally that Donald Trump has to respond based on how he functions, how he sees the world. And I've talked about this on the show earlier, is that Trump is a counterpuncher, but anybody that has played organized team sports or has been in a boxing ring, judo, martial arts, MMA, understands that a counterpuncher is the easiest person to bait into a conflict because they have to respond. So if you know they're going to counterpunch, you can plan. You can set them up and say, okay, I know that if I show you this jab, you're going to do this, and then I'm going to come back and hit you here. You know that. And I think that's what Harris was doing. She set him up and took advantage of the nature of him being a counterpuncher, knowing that he couldn't let these little things go. And the function of that, in my opinion, is then on his answers and responses, he doesn't deal with the actual question. And that hurts his
Correct.
appearance for low information voters because they're like, he's not even talking about what we're talking about. He's more worried about a personal confrontation than he's worried about talking to me. And I felt at times, Harris did this a number of times where she turned and she talked to voters in the camera, where Donald Trump would either be talking at Kamala or arguing with the debate moderators.
Oh, interesting. I saw it totally different
I think
because
that's
she
true.
kept turning towards him the entire time, looking at him, speaking directly to him, and he was laser locked on the camera. But Francis, I appreciate the call. We got to get through tons of callers here. But I appreciate you giving us time. Francis's line is open, 303-696-1971. Dwayne, want to get to you in just a second, but I want to talk to you about my good friend, Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. Dan suggested you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. This matters. You don't want to show up with someone that you hired because you saw their billboard on the side of a bus going by. You want somebody that really shares your values. And Dan Kaplis is pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He's the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But more than just sharing your values, he is the gold standard, the platinum standard of actually winning in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law is so trusted that they are the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. You must be going, well, then he's just reserved for the rich and wealthy. No. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. And Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. Let's go to Dwayne, Divide. Good morning, Dwayne. How's it up there in Divide?
Chilly, very chilly. So sitting there trying to get through that. We had our first little frost. We almost got snow. So we're just looking forward to a new season here, fall and winter. So with this Isaac Kendall guy, is that truly a dude who looks like a lady? Just put the thought out there.
Oh, that's funny.
And also, yeah, thank you. I try. And I think Donald Trump was in the worst threesome of any man could be in front of the entire world last night.
That's a good line.
Well, I try and do what I can.
Appreciate it.
I got to agree with Megyn Kelly that really the fight was going on with 3 people, not one. And the ABC news director is a very close friend of Harris. And there's also discussion now that she was wearing an earbud in her ear during the debate.
Yeah,
So
that was however against rules, and they did, and I understand there was some sort of checking, et cetera, beforehand. So I doubt the earbud thing. But the thing is I have heard the earbud story for years about the other person comes in and they're always wearing an earbud. And again, the other part is having someone trying to set an answer up and having someone talk in your ear is incredibly difficult.
Believe me, it's actually really hard. But no, she was just over rehearsed. During our panel discussion last night, someone very astutely said it was genuine and authentic from Donald Trump's side and overly prepared and inauthentic on Kamala Harris's side. What do you think, Dwayne?
I agree. Basically, again, Bill's right with the fact that, Don is basically a counterpuncher. And the problem is you just sit there and go left, right, come on, follow in, make that step. And then boom, you do a right cross and it's over. And she took him. She took him more than a few times. I got to go 60-30 on Harris. I was disappointed. Don had strong things to say, but by the time he got through answering all the fights and getting the smears, I couldn't believe that there was no discussion about the Kiki torches and everything, again, getting smeared with, just like it was against Biden. And there was nothing against that, but everything else was just like, boom, boom. And they just kept hammering him. And it was like, how do you sit there and come out of it? He's got to get 30 seconds to breathe.
Yeah, he did have more talk time, I think, based on it, though. And I also think at times he was able to run over David Muir in a way that Harris couldn't. There were times in which Muir tried to interrupt him, and he just steamrolled over the top, and Muir pulled back. Not a lot, but more times than Harris trying to say, no, I have to respond, and he would just continue the question and ignore her again. Handful of times. Does it mean that David Muir was a fair and balanced moderator? No, not at all.
Dwayne, do you think this changed anybody's mind?
I have to sit there and think some of the independents, the drooling, Coca-Cola drinking, Snickers eating fools who sit there and hear free money, I don't think it swayed them as much as everybody would like. I'd love to see a second debate. The one I want to see is JD versus Walls. That's the one I think that will settle everything for the election.
Yeah, that one's going to be interesting.
Really? That's an interesting. You almost caught me off guard here. That one will settle the election. I don't think anybody's ever paid attention to a vice presidential debate,
and that's why this one here will make so much more impact. I mean, Harris and Trump. I mean, again, we know what Trump is. I love the man, and Harris. Well, she's Harris, but I do believe that what JD and Mr. Walls go through, I think that's the one that's going to make people sit there and go, you know what? These guys are nothing more than a couple of empty suits, and there's a lot of helium in all this.
Now that's going to be interesting, and I find it interesting the idea of the comparison between Harris and Walls, because looking at favorability, unfavorability ratings right now, Harris out of the four, Trump, with JD Vance, Kamala, and Walls is rated the highest. He has the highest favorability of any of them by about 6 points. He's at plus, I think, 5 or 6. And JD Vance is the most negatively viewed of the four. He's minus 10. There's like a 15, 16-point swing between the two of them. And that is significant, where Harris, I believe, is just about at the Mendoza line. I think she's minus about a point, and Don's minus about 5. So that 15-point spread is significant. And you might have something there, Dwayne, that if JD Vance can change that favorability, there may be more people persuaded that Donald Trump's ticket isn't as bad as we've been led to believe. But he's got to close the deal on that debate. He could. I think I'm not sure it would be as significant as you say it is, but I see how it can gain momentum for Trump and gain momentum for voters based on JD Vance's presentation. And he is smart. For all the rocks being thrown at him, the guy is very quick, very clever. And can that guy show up on the debate stage?
I really believe so. Now, with Walls there being an instructor and saying, guy went to Yale. As an instructor myself, I loved when my guys went to a college and only 2 got, accepted to Brown. But I'm sitting there, happy as a dad with all sorts of new cigars and bubble gum. I mean, my kid went to, Brown. Yeah, okay, I did my job. I did what I was supposed to do. And 9/11, I'm not seeing the joy and thrill and the solemnness that we'd like to see. When that happened, I got a phone call. I looked at the wife. I pulled out the 9/11 or 1911 Cult, 3 magazines. I said, honey, I'll see you when I see you, because I was in a security system, and we were trying to come up with things. And I was gone for 11 days straight, and we were just living on coffee and vending machine food. Oof. And I was just like at the end of it going, we all smell really bad in here, but I think we got some good ideas. We passed them along, and they're now being used. But that was one of the hardest things ever that I had to make as a decision, because I was just a man in his 40s. I had 5 kids, and I looked at the wife, because she's like, oh, somebody hit a building with an airplane. And I'm like, of course, honey, you would realize that would not be a terror attack.
Yeah.
And I jumped up, turned on the TV, saw the second one, and I was like, baby, I got to take a shower and I got to go.
Yeah.
And she's like, but why? And I was like, that's why there's that balloon.
Well, I'm glad the honey buns and the Cheetos and the vending machine kept you, I got you enough sustenance.
Dwayne, great call. Thanks so much.
Man. And hi to your son. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And keep it real up there and divide. We'll continue with your calls and texts. Look, for many of us, it's happening. Your hair is thinning, your crown disappearing, maybe hair loss as you feeling your identity is lost altogether. Well, I've got good news. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have, but what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls, it's not maybe will your hair regrow, it's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Billy, we got some bad news.
Uh-oh. What?
The little text message machine doesn't like us.
Oh, already?
We had a new phone number. Jeez. And I don't want to give out the company that is shutting us down every time we get this thing going again. But
you might have,
you
might
could
have
probably guess it.
You might have studied them in class when you were really young, like maybe first grade when they had you do A, B, C. Maybe that's the reference. Maybe that's the company. I'm just saying.
We get it fired up, and then they go, "Oh, this is a conservative talk radio station. Shut it down."
No. And if you've seen that guy sending pictures of snakes to some people, there's no way we can allow that.
No.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's happening.
No idea.
But can't see those anymore.
No.
So
Oh,
give us a call, 303-696-1971. The Jeff and Bill Show, providing all the analysis you need on this post-debate, the day after this historic Kamala Harris-Donald Trump debate will continue. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I love this song too. I was just thinking the hangover from last night's debate.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I mean, Billy, there's more wrestling to it now. You know,
Yeah,
there's, to Francis's point, he wants that kind of in-depth policy discussion about the future of this nation and what kind of plan you have to deliver for what you promise. But
it is.
It's a little bit of wrestling entertainment.
Yeah. As Denver radio legend and friend of the show, Peter Boyle says, yeah, life and radio is more about professional wrestling than anyone realizes. Yeah, he's correct.
And I like the fight. I know it wasn't fair. It was Donald Trump versus 3. But I thought he did pretty good. He held his own. It wasn't the knockout punch that he delivered against Joe Biden.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
And Kamala Harris held her own. But from my perspective, at the end of the day, the greatest performance from Donald Trump was around foreign policy, and he delivered and sounded like he was in control with strong leadership skills. I liked it.
And I think his strongest point was when he kept pushing back on why haven't you done it? I think that is a tremendously effective argument against Biden and Harris's administration and the current Harris campaign. I think that argument, it can really, if you can stick with it and really push on it, it's hard for her to defend.
Jam-packed phone lines. Let's get to Julie. Good morning, Julie. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning. Thanks for the call.
Morning, guys.
So what did you think last night?
When I went into it, I knew there wasn't going to be any substance. I just watched it for the show, basically. But Trump missed so many opportunities. For instance, when Harris said that Cheney, Dick, and Liz, endorsed her, all he had to say was, well, of course they did. They're warmongers like you, Kaboom.
Yeah, I agree. There were a lot of openings that Trump didn't follow up with. And I think that's in part because Harris, as Francis, an earlier caller, had pointed out, baited Trump often and was able to force him into counter-punching mode rather than having him stay on message. And we already know staying on message is difficult for Trump. And when Harris added that in, that made it even more difficult for him. What do you think? Now, last night, Julie, what was for you Trump's most effective portion of the debate? Where do you think that he really shined last night?
I think his closing.
Interesting. What about
it? I just like the way he said, why haven't you done anything now? You've been there. This is your administration. These are your problems. Quit trying to take yourself away from Biden. This is you. And why haven't you done anything? I mean,
that was really strong.
Another point when Muir was fact checking him about the Haitians and the pets, he's sitting there saying, well, the city manager said, and all Trump had to say was, well, in Colorado, the governor said it's everybody's imagination.
Oh, hey,
that would have been a good one.
Julie, I didn't even think of pivoting and doing it that way. I tip of the hat for that one. That is incredibly intelligent. I like how you're thinking. That's very insightful. And I was disappointed on that layer from ABC's prep team and David Muir, because him coming in with just the city manager is, in my opinion, weak sauce. Because there are stronger people out there that are saying it. And one of them being the Springfield Police Department that in the last 24 hours, last 48 hours, has put out on social media, they have received a grand total of 0 phone calls or concerns from anyone about a stolen pet or people taking animals out of a park and eating them. And they go through a laundry list. They say,
I just heard audio today of a call to the police department.
No, the Springfield Police Department came out in the last 48 hours and said they have no reports of someone doing this that are credible. They have no reports of anybody that is credible setting up tents or living on people's lawns or throwing out garbage, and no reports that are credible of anybody standing in the middle of traffic and delaying traffic and doing other stuff that we're all going around. So that would have been stronger on David Muir rather than saying the city manager.
Julie, great call. Thanks so much. Hey, I want to talk to you about my good friends over at Mountain High Appliance. Billy, when it crashes, it kind of burns and you end up with a whole lot of things you got to replace.
Let's
I had
talk about that Hunt household right now.
I had to
What's
replace
going
my
on?
dryer, and now I got to replace my refrigerator. It keeps building up this big frost in the back. If anyone has any ideas on what to do with
Your
this,
condenser's bad, probably.
Is that what it is?
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah, you've got a condenser.
My wife
exchange
turned
problem.
to me yesterday because we had to move everything to the garage fridge.
No.
Right? And she's like, I will never do that again.
Dude, now
I'm
here's
like,
the
all
thing.
right, so now I got to go talk to Mountain High Appliance.
This is why you go talk to Mountain High Appliance. So when our listeners are in this type of situation, this is why you go to the people that we trust, Mountain High Appliance. Not only are they going to get you the best deals because they know all about the rebates, their stuff's going to be on sale, but they know extra rebates that are going to save you piles more cash than anything else out there advertised. But most importantly, they have test kitchens. You can go in there and look at how these things will function in your life. We all had that with a refrigerator and oven, something. You get it home and you're like, well, this is stupid. Why does it do this? You weren't able to look at it and test it out and talk to the guys that know the nuts and bolts. Go talk to Mountain High Appliance like Jeff is going to do, and you're going to get the perfect refrigerator for your
they've got
household.
that price match guarantee and special financing options. Visit one of their 4 locations for all the details and to upgrade your kitchen with GE Cafe Appliances in Denver at East 64th, Littleton, Louisville, and Glenwood Springs. Mountain High Appliance. Experience the difference. All right, Marty, you're up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. We're listening too, you know. Oh, this is embarrassing. Did you hear about this yesterday?
No.
Oh, scandal? No? Oh, Dave Grohl. Oh, fallen from grace. My man. Yeah, huge news yesterday. Yesterday, David Grohl, Foo Fighters, formerly Nirvana, announced that he has welcomed another child into his life outside of his 21-year-old marriage. Yes, he admitted publicly to having a love child. I know, but the thing is, he admitted it publicly. He did try to do the thing about, hey, I'm going to be a good dad, etc. His oldest daughter deleted all over social media. There's fallout.
Way.
Yeah, there's fallout inside the family. Something's going to happen. Yeah, this is not good. And he has had a solid relationship.
Ways
We
to
know
deal
from
with that.
Yeah, there is.
Like
but
the
it's-
Robertsons down in Duck Dynasty.
Oh, yeah.
Found out they had a daughter out of wedlock. He doesn't even remember sleeping with the girl.
But again, who knows if Dave does either. But that was kind of shocking yesterday. Yeah, I just wanted to shout that one out. And shout out to friend of the show, Jeremy Levy.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Birthday! We are so happy that you have spent another year traveling on the planet as we rotate around the sun. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and being a friend of the show.
All right, let's get to it. Marty's here, and he's ready to rumble with Billy. Marty,
Hey.
welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Hey, good to be with you, gentlemen. Hey, Jeff, I'm with you. I thought Trump was fantastic. For me, it was his most admirable performance based on the obvious handicaps, limitations, restrictions around that. But Billy, check it out. This is for you.
Yeah.
I can hear in your tone, I can hear in your spirit. I think you know deep down that wasn't going to be good enough from Kamala to set a record in November for votes, is it?
What do you mean by
That wasn't
set a
good enough.
record? I mean, if she needs to have a record of votes as far as more votes than anything else, no, probably not good enough. But was it good enough to continue the momentum and possibly defeat Trump in the fall? Yeah, it was good enough. Yeah, she did just enough.
Bingo.
She came out and did just enough to appear presidential, just enough to not appear crazy, and just enough of a contrast for people that are upset or disliked Trump based on his behavior before, because all he did is reinforce everything that people probably didn't like during the last election cycle that led him to lose.
You just hit it. That was my exact thinking. She did just enough to keep the fairy tale alive to get us into November.
Wait,
Because
hold on.
that's
Wait,
a
hold
one
on.
and done.
Marty, hang on. Wait. Okay. We should look outside and see if it is the apocalypse, because you and I have just agreed on something. I mean, this has got to be the end of the world. This has got to be Revelations or something, my friend. I cannot believe this happened, and it's on Jeremy Levy's birthday. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to point that out. That is amazing. Okay, continue,
And
my
it's
friend.
documented, and it's
Yes.
excellent. But we're centering it around. It's all about Kamala Harris, and so that's why
Yeah.
I'm hoping people can find that unity. That regardless of your hatred for Trump, this woman is not fit to be your king. To be bowed upon. But here's what it was. You guys, I don't know what we're looking at it from the right perspective just yet. Last night was not about Donald Trump pitching policy to the undecided voter. That's not what he was doing last night. The brilliance of last night was that's the face of failure. She has her name written over the failures of California and the failures of the last 3.5, 4 years. And don't ever get off of that. And just as advertised, he went hard on the border because it's unforgivable. It's destructive. It's permanent, Billy. And that's why, even though we tried to put J6 and the border again last night head to head, the border trumps all. So it wasn't about, hey, I'm going to make America great economically. But we're beyond that. We're coming. It's a personality contest, Billy. And right then and there, you need to know that this person is acting, faking, lying to you because she's not going to do anything she promises. And just look at her record.
That's your assumption, though, Marty, that she's not going to do anything she promises. And I understand when you're talking about this being a personality fight. And unfortunately, I think the larger electorate, if it is a personality fight, they are going to go with Kamala because they rejected Trump's personality last time. And everything that we talked about beforehand is that he had to go hard into policy, that if he went with policy, that then he has a wedge that he can drive into her support and peel that away. And he didn't do any of the policy. You outlined the border, and he went hard into the border, but you know what he didn't do? Offer a single solution. He was asked about the mass deportation, how he would achieve it. And he avoided the question, and he didn't even say anything other than, we're going to work with local law enforcement. That is as far as he went on his plan for mass deportation. Didn't talk about how it was going to be accomplished, didn't talk about who was going to be deported, didn't talk about the functional mechanism, and the most important part, didn't talk about how he's going to pay for it. And so if he is stronger on immigration and the border, he needed to deliver that policy at that point, and he didn't. In fact, he wandered far afield into a bunch of other grievances. And that's where I'm saying that's where he reinforces the negative image that some low information voters have of him because they just saw the same thing. Old man yells at clouds.
No, that's just the low IQ voter. The low information, if you're a low information voter, in this environment, there is potentially an IQ issue at hand because things are about to change permanently. And Billy, what you're trying to convey to that person is it's a personality. You know, it's like a song. It comes on. You either like that song and want to hear it again, or it's like, it ain't for me. Change the station. And I think too much of Kamala's just filth. I mean, just a liar. My wife left the room many times. You know, Christian woman, of course, so she has discernment. But as Kamala was just telling these lies about Donald Trump throughout and never got caught lying, she had to leave the room because why? You can tell there's just an anti-spirit of American, of family. Do you believe for a second, Billy, that she is for like the common man, like the blue collar guy? I mean, that is an outrageous lie. But if you don't know her background, you might believe it. And that's
what makes you say that she's not for the common man? I mean, I understand your personal aspersion, but what is it?
Well, policy, first of all, a green economy doesn't include the blue collar guy or the poor guy. Green economies destroy our poor people. Just go look at our inner cities.
No,
but that's fact.
No, it's not fact. That's not fact at all, Marty. And the Green New Deal hasn't been passed. There have been pieces that have been passed. And if you're talking about who had policy, she had policies that dealt with tax cuts. She had policies that dealt with housing. She had policies that dealt with education. She was the one that had very slim, but she's the one that did have
the
policies.
Government was there to rescue you. That came across from Kamala Harris. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUN.
9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Wednesday, September 11th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. Bill and I having a great time discussing and analyzing the debate that took place yesterday. It was wild.
Yeah, it thinks out of all
the callers.
Yeah, everybody pick up their phone and spend time talking with us, and everybody is hanging out with us.
Jam-packed phone lines.
So much fun.
We're going to continue this conversation all the way through the election. This is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So feel free to jump in and be a part of the conversation. Billy, I don't know if our listeners know this, but we are not a government-funded agency.
Really?
No.
You
know, when that
like
omnibus continuing resolution bill comes up that they're all going to vote on, there's no line item that goes Jeff and Bill Show in Denver.
Well, we got to start talking to our representatives. We
get
got
a
line
lobbyist
in there. Yes, we need a lobbyist. That's what we need.
We rely upon great people that are building businesses in our communities to support the work that we do here at 710 KNUS.
You're exactly right, because we are building this radio station for you, our listeners. That we're talking about a show that is different than anything else that is here in the state and elsewhere in the nation. It's a unique community that we have, and we have conversations with you that nobody else does, but it only works with the support of a lot of great local advertisers. We're not leaning on the big national people.
Nope.
We're not looking for that. We're not
no
going to
Disney advertisements.
No Pepsi. We're not doing the Chick-fil-A. I'd take the Chick-fil-A advertising, but we're not that. We are relying on the people that are in your community, the people that are going to be standing next to you at the grocery store, the people that are going to be praying next to you in the pews. Those are the people that spend money here to advertise on our station. So we appreciate it like you don't believe when you go out and show them the same grace and the same support. And we know that the phone rings when we bring an advertiser on. We know that you guys support them. We've heard it from a number of them, and we are so excited to introduce you to a new friend of the family here with Jeff and Bill Show.
Coming on to the Jeff and Bill Show right after the news and commentary with Blake Olson is Steve Walker. Steve's the president of Colorado's Best Roofing Incorporated. Going to give us some insight into the roofing industry and why they provide better service than anybody, especially those kind of fly-by-night operations that just follow the hailstorms.
Yeah.
These guys provide custom service that's going to last you a long time.
Yep. And
Steve Walker, president
Steve
of Colorado's
has
Best
no
Roofing.
idea what he's going to have to do with us here later in the hour. We've got a special surprise that you've got to stick with us. It is going to be a lot of fun. You know how we roll.
Let's start with the news and commentary from Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning and welcome, Steve. 69 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 85 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story stocks are tanking on Wall Street. The Dow has been down more than 500 points already in today's session. It comes after the release of last month's consumer price index showing prices were up 0.2% in August, but it is still early in the day.
Vice President Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black." I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent? But
those big picture questions. Thanks, David Smear. He's the story from last night's debate. He did exactly what ABC wanted him to do. Forget being objective and attack the former president in the first and possibly the only debate between Kamala Khan and Trump. We shall see. And now, here are the highlights from Smears.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, "You lost by a whisker. that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short. Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020? I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No judge
Republican,
looked at it
and said
they
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread
stand.
fraud. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election.
Lawfare, and more lawfare. Weaponizing the justice system. Where were you, David Schmier? Where were you?
You remember when Nancy Pelosi at the Oxford debate was only like a year ago, was still claiming that Donald Trump rigged the 2016 system. Election.
Right. Was that a year ago?
I don't even know if it was a year ago. It was that recent when she did the Oxford debate, and she's still claiming that Donald Trump lost 2016, but it's only Trump that's going to get raked over the coals for not letting go of a previous election.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely. All right. Trump tried to hit as much as he could in the closing statement.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it.
No, absolutely not, because she has no interest at all in closing the border. Here are a couple of our great listeners. Francis first.
Here's my thing on Trump is that I think he does not prepare. And I don't know if it's just not in his nature. I don't know if he needs to go on some sort of, ADHD medication or something, but he's clearly prepping, if he's prepping at all, for another talk with Biden, not Harris.
I kind of agree with him. He definitely needs to prep more before this next debate. Hopefully there is one, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Hey, how about Joe?
You had 3 communists and an American. If you're going to put an American with, commentators, I mean, can you imagine if this was in the Gateway Pundits court and they asked Kamala, did you get an abortion after you slept with Willie Brown? Those are the kind of questions that they really nailed Trump with. Everything was about J6, and then what about the fact checking? There's only one person fact checked during the entire debate.
Yeah, and they always talk about J6, but they never talk about Ray Epps. Wow, that's incredible. Conspiracy. That's it. Really? All right, let's go. Let's get Megyn Kelly to call the show.
The worst piece of all of this is the obvious tactic by ABC News, which was as follows. Mr. Trump, you said something incredibly controversial and terrible. Let me remind you of what it was. Do you have any regrets or thoughts on how terrible you were? Trump answers. Vice President Harris, how bad is Trump? And then she'd answer. It happened over and over again. That was the format. Mr. Trump, you're a piece of shit. Kamala Harris, isn't he a shit? Thank you. It was incredible. And then anything Trump said, fact check, fact check, fact check. And their fact checks were full of shit.
Yep. People around the globe remembering the victims of 9/11 today. This is the 23rd anniversary, and family members of the victims are gathering with local leaders in Lower Manhattan for the annual reading of the victims' names. Authorities are looking for a tall man with long hair who attacked employees and customers at a Colorado Panera Bread. Natalie Wiersma says she was just trying to get lunch at the location on Cherry Creek Parkway in Glendale.
I wasn't even attacked, but I was still shaken up.
Wiersma recorded the outburst. In the video, one employee can be seen holding the man down while another hits the suspect over the head with the pizza paddle. Man, I hope they wash that thing. Witnesses say it started after the man allegedly started throwing things at a staff member, demanding their phone. Then customers got involved. Police say that they're still on an active search for the suspect named Isaac Ross. Isaac, we know you're out there. also known as Kendall. It's 59 in Brighton, 60 in Englewood, 63 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. It is Hump Day Wednesday morning.
Whiskey for my man, beer for my horses. Singing whiskey for my man.
Everybody's turn. Sing along.
Whiskey for my man and beer for my horses.
We are awful. We are so bad at karaoke, but I love you.
I'm coming to one of your karaoke.
You're gonna have to, man.
All right, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning, Denver. Your 710 5-day forecast will start off with partly cloudy skies. Then we do see a chance for some afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms. Highs today in the middle and upper 80s, then clearing tonight with lows in the mid-50s. Drying things out, middle and upper 80s for Thursday. Sunshine, breezy winds out of the west and southwest, lower to mid-80s and sunny for Friday. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Dawn Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
So we love our advertisers because without them, we couldn't do what we get to do. All the great service that 710 KNUS provides to the community, the voice of Denver, where you can call in and share your perspective on issues. You can't do it on any other show. This is it. Nope. And the people that make this happen are advertisers, are donors, are supporters, and they swing by and hang out with us. And today, Steve Walker, who's president of Colorado's Best Roofing, is hanging out with us today. Steve, thanks so much for coming by.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
So, I mean, if there's one thing in Colorado you probably need to deal with all the time is a roof. You know, it's not like a windshield, right? Because it's just the nature of living here. You get the storms and the sun and the wind and the weather that just beats on that roof. And you guys provide really quality service. You're not the big ones in the sense of like, you're not like a Walmart serving as many people as you can, as fast as you can. You provide quality roofs. Tell us about Best Roofing.
Yeah, just wait 5 minutes, the weather will change, right?
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, our ideal situation is do inspections, go out there, see what's existing. A lot of people think, oh, well, I can get into this impact resistant type of roof and it's going to protect me. Maybe that's not ideal for your situation. So we go out there, we look and see what's helpful to the people and kind of figure out their best situation moving forward. We like to put long-term workmanship warranties on their roof. So if they ever sell, they'll always have that kind of warranty on their roof. They'll be calling and saying, hey, I need a roof certification. My real estate's asking. We're like, no, you have a 25-year workmanship. Let us help you transfer that to the buyer. So
talking with Steve Walker, president of Colorado's Best Roofing, their website, roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. What do people face here in Colorado that makes this unique with regards to having to deal with roofing issues?
Well, I mean, like you said, it's the weather, right? I mean, we put 30-year shingles on and you get probably 15 years of life out of them just because of the weather.
Really?
Yep. I mean, it's the sun is hard on roofs. The cold is hard. The fluctuation in temperature changes. It just beats roofs up, so.
And there's always these kind of storm chasers that come through, right? And they'll come knock on your door. You didn't invite them there. They're like, hey, we'll take a look at your roof. And they promise a lot. What's wrong with those folks versus, or at least what's different between what you provide versus the storm chasers?
Well, a lot of storm chasers will come in, they'll set up a shop and they'll want to get the first check and put the roof on, and then they don't pay the suppliers. So you want to come, you want a company that's established here, one of your guys, and has a relationship and pays their suppliers kind of thing, pays their bills. That's really where storm chasers get a little, they get you and get out. So,
and that can affect the homeowner, right? So if they don't pay the bills, what happens to them?
They're on the hook for that. Yep, they're on the hook for that. They get a lien on the property because the bill hasn't been paid. So, you you can come to our office. You can meet our suppliers. I mean, whatever it takes to let you know that we're your local guy is always available to our customers.
And how long has Colorado's Best Roofing been around?
Since 2012.
And what got you into this?
Well, I was in construction forever, kind of got in a little bit of a car accident and couldn't build buildings anymore. And I said, why don't I become the boss?
So you started this. This is your own baby, huh?
This is it. Yep. My wife and I decided, hey, let's work for ourselves and work for the community.
How's that been?
Excellent. I mean, we wouldn't change a thing. I mean, we share an office. I don't know. Well, you could ask her how that goes.
I often joke I'm in 2 marriages right now. I got my wife, Nicole, and Bill and I, who is my work spouse here.
It is.
But you guys built this together, huh?
We are. We're smaller mom and pops, which gives us a little bit more control and get to meet the customers. We get letters all the time from, hey, thanks. Thanks for the relationship. Thanks for the service kind of thing. And that's what we pride ourselves on.
Why not go out there and just build a huge company and flip those roofs as fast as you can? You seem to really like the fact that you are small and provide quality service. Why is that important to you?
Well, I mean, for us, this isn't about making a gazillion dollars, right? This is, we are Christian and we like to take our resources and how do we build God's kingdom with all of this? We have people, I've never put an ad out, people that show up and work for us have just shown up, and so we talk to them and, we create an environment, a smaller environment where it's more family oriented,
That struck me when you and I were first getting to know each other about your perspective towards your business and how your faith informs that. I'm talking to Steve Walker, president of Colorado's Best Roofing. Tell me how your faith affects your business.
Well, I mean, hopefully it's everything, I mean, we want to be principle-based folks, we want to practice principles with our customers, with the folks that work with us. We want to practice being honest with folks, and whether it's a good fit, not good fit, we want to help them through the insurance process, help them make decisions and stuff like that. So our faith shores all of that up. It gives us something. It's our foundation of where we, try to pour out into all areas of our life.
Do you think your customers notice the difference?
I think our customers know that we care. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they know hey, we're not there to sign a contract. I don't need their checks. I don't need their money. I don't need them to sign a contract. Let's figure out if we're a good fit. Let's figure out what you have going on before we even do all of that.
And I want to get to your faith because that's really important to you. It's important to me. And I always love when people talk publicly about their faith. But somebody calls you, and what problems may they have? And then how does the process begin to work with you?
As far as their home project, you mean?
Yeah. So they, do they have leaky roofs? Do they have hail damage? What kind of problems would result in somebody wanting to call you? And then do you guys provide free consultations?
We do. We do free inspections. So people will say, hey, I have a leak here, leak there, and we'll come out, do an inspection for that. Or maybe they've had a storm roll through and we'll do a free inspection on that and let them know, hey, clean bill of health, or no, you probably need to go down this road. I mean, it's really important to make sure you need to file a claim with an insurance company. Sometimes you don't need to. Maybe it's not even worth it. You need to have someone come out and do a fair assessment of that. We've been on roofs where they're like, hey, the guy got up there and told us to call our insurance and all of that. And it's well, let me tell you the facts. Maybe there's not enough damage there. Maybe you don't want to open up a claim and ding yourself on that when you don't really have to.
And will you guys do those small repairs in addition to entire roof replacements?
Absolutely. No repair too small. So we do small repairs. We do residential roof replacements. We do commercial repairs, commercial replacements for businesses. We do it all.
Now, Steve Walker, president of Colorado's Best Roofing, spending time right here on Jeff and Bill because he has decided to put his money where his mouth is, and he is going to support local radio. He's going to support For some reason, I know why he's supporting Jeff. For some reason, I'm into this too. But still, we really appreciate the fact that he is part of the team. And that's why we want to introduce him to you so that when you have a roofing issue, you know a person that you can trust that is local, a small business, someone that shares your values, your faith, and is going to take care of you in a way those big companies aren't. Now, Steve, what I want to talk about, we talked about it a little bit, those fly-by-night guys. And we have a hailstorm that rolls through. All of a sudden, you get people that show up on your front porch. They're knocking on the door saying, "Oh, ma'am, sir, I can see just by standing here on your lawn that you obviously have significant damage. So you need to give me lots of money, and I might or might not repair this properly." What I want to talk about is, one, talk to our listeners about why that person standing on their driveway or standing on their lawn can't have possibly done a sufficient examination of the roof, and then briefly just outline what your examination is looking for and why you do it better than those guys that are only here for a couple of months.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, you can't see anything from the ground on a roof for starters. So let's just start there. You have to climb up on the roof and do a full inspection.
So wait, you're saying the people that are standing there that have only showed up in town a couple of weeks ago and standing and telling me you have a problem on your roof, they don't know what they're talking about. Oh, notice my shocked face. I am so shocked.
Yeah, right. And then secondly, I think what's helpful is having, when we get up there and do an inspection, we do a photo report. Like, let's take photos. Let's show the people the damage if it exists, or let's show them like nothing exists. Like, let's give them something to go with. Like, here's what it looks like. I mean, not a lot of people get on the roof. They don't see it. So showing people a bunch of photos, and we can always send them that in a report and go, here, you actually have a clean bill of health. You're fine. Sometimes, hey, call us back in the fall and we'll do another inspection just in case. You never know if the granules wash out and we may have missed something just because of, how the storm affected the roof. We never know.
Now, Steve, one thing you talked about there is getting that documentation, the pictures. Talk to the listeners about how important it is to have that documentation when you have to go and talk to the insurance company. How does that make it easier and better for our listeners, your customers, when they're trying to get their roof replaced based on actual damage?
Yeah, so I mean, you want to do a full inspection report before you even file the claim. And once there is confirmed damage, then you're like, okay, here it is. And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll meet with the insurance adjuster and we'll walk through, and we'll either agree to agree or agree to disagree. I mean, they work for the insurance company, the adjuster meaning, and we work for the customer. So we have, the customer's best interest, and we want to make sure that we get everything included that should be included that was damaged so that they can be made right.
All right, then you heard that, listeners, the Jeff and Bill Show. This is Steve Walker, president of Colorado's Best Roofing, and he's saying that when you have that problem with your roof, he is going to take it over. He goes through, does the full inspection, makes sure the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and then he is the one that navigates the conversation with your insurance company. He knows their game. He knows the things they're going to object to, and he knows how to fight back. That is not your job. You shouldn't have to become a roof expert or an insurance expert at that point. This is the guy that'll take care of it for you. So it's one call to Colorado's Best Roofing, and that's it. Your roof is taken care of, and you're dealing with a small business that is giving money back to the community, employing people locally, and sharing your faith and values. That's what makes this difference.
And you don't want to wait until the next big storm hits.
No.
Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today at 303-797-7663. That's 303-797-7663. Or visit them at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Steve, you talk about your faith. Tell me about when you met Jesus Christ and how he changed your life.
The full story there. So
sure, we got some time. People love to hear this stuff.
As much as you are comfortable sharing, because we are very open.
And you're also welcome to confess your greatest sins. But we can broadcast that across the city of Denver.
Yeah, right. That's great. No, I mean, so probably 2009, I was, probably drinking a little more than I should have been. I was, going down a dark road in a dark hotel room, and I'll never forget, crying out to a God I didn't believe in. Hey, God, please help. And in that moment, I was healed. Like something happened,
Really?
And it was an amazing situation. And, once something like that happens, I mean, you can't deny God. You know, you're either in or you're out. And so, you know, I've made it, you know, for me, it's about, hey, how do I tell others about this? You know, I'm not standing out on the street corner, like hitting people over the head with it. But, you know, I definitely, when I'm, you know, everyone's standing in front of me, wherever the situation is, if I get the opportunity, it's like, hey, me too. You know, it's a Me Too world for sure.
Well, and to Bono's famous lyric, you finally found what you were looking for, right? Like, and I felt the same way. You want to live life to the full. You want the good parts of life, and you kind of chase things, right? You chase women, you chase alcohol, you chase drugs, and you get to the end of those roads, and you're like, that's not as great.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
And then you find it, you get hit by it, and it's just. You remember the woman at the well?
Yeah.
Right. Where Jesus said, I'm going to give you water that lasts for life.
Yeah.
Right. You're never going to thirst again.
Yeah.
Right. And so you find it. You're like, guys, hey, I found it. I found it.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody,
Absolutely.
come over and meet this Jesus guy. Like I opted out. Like I met Jesus. I actually met Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
And he changed my life. And I want to tell other people about it.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yep.
Wow. So what'd your friends and family think? You start going to church after that, and they're going, I've been to Steve a little bit here.
Yeah, you know, you become a little bit of a weird guy. So I go to, if it's all right to say, I do attend Brave. So we're already kind of a little countercultural.
Yeah,
so
Jeff's great. Pastor Jeff.
Yeah.
He's great.
So we're already kind of swimming upstream.
And so you begin this journey with Christ. Was it easy right away? Did you have to change some parts of your life?
Well, I had a huge experience. I had, the sea parted. It was the white light. It was the burning bush.
Really?
So I got, you know, he stung me right out of the gate. So it wasn't gradual. Mine was like immediate. And unfortunately, I'll tell people, you know, you're probably not going to experience this, but this was my experience, you know, like mine happened in the blink of an eye. So thank God for God. You know.
And I'd love to tell, I had a very similar experience. What was your prayer?
God, please help.
Okay, that was yours.
That was
that simple.
It was
You didn't have to go through a long litany.
I always ask people, what do you think it was? Was it the word God, the word please, or the word help? Like which one did he respond to?
3 words.
Yeah, exactly.
So my salvation prayer, because I was a wild guy. I was known for throwing really big parties. My parents didn't know what to do with me, so they sent me off to church camp. It was at a military school, and cuter girls at church camp. So that's where I went. But I remember you have to come to terms with your sin, that the problems that are out there are not the result of other people. Our culture really likes to believe that. Right. And when you go through a conversion, you come to the realization that the problems are in your heart. That's
Absolutely.
where the brokenness is, right? So you cry out to God, going, please help this broken heart that's just driving me into really bad situations. And my salvation prayer was, Lord, I've spent 16 years partying without you. I think I want to try partying with you. It was a partying prayer.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I want to try partying
You're
with
like,
you.
Jesus, help me do the kickstand. Right. That might not be the right thing you're asking about.
And whap! I came in. The Holy Spirit got a hold of
Yeah.
me, and then my parents were like, "What happened to this guy?"
Sure.
So I came back, on fire for the Lord. But it's that you've been looking for it, you find it, and you want to share it with people.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
how do you incorporate your faith into your business? You talk about caring, though, but how about the treatment of your employees and stuff like that?
Yep. They all know. I don't. Not everyone is, a faith in our company, which is okay by me.
It doesn't have to be,
No,
right?
absolutely not. I mean, we talk and I've got, anytime situations come up, I'll be like, this is a spot where I would pray, and then I just throw that out there and they like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I'll try that or something like that. But it's lead by example. It's not lead with do what I do. Right. Because
that wasn't what got you there.
That's
right?
not what got me there.
Yeah.
In fact, the thing that probably kept me away was people like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what a great testament to faith and sharing your faith when you are walking the walk and talking the talk rather than becoming the person that is like, ignore the skeletons that are in my closet, but I got to talk to you about the skeletons in yours. There's something very powerful about that. And also,
I do like to point out your sins, Bill, all the time.
The problem is we just don't have enough time in the show. It's an entire segment plus. Now, I got a call off the air. Steve Walker, president of Colorado's Best Roofing, in studio with Jeff and Bill. We are so happy to welcome him on to the family and the team. He's now supporting this radio station, this show that you like. So do us a solid and go and support him when you need that roof taken care of in your house. A friend of the show called in and it wants to know about what you do in-house, concerned about how much of this do you guys do as far as getting out there, the builders, or is it just one of those things where you have the name, you've got the sign out in front, and then it's a whole bunch of subcontractors that you've gone out there? He's looking for someone that takes care of it from step one to the end step without a lot of subs. He's looking for a company he can trust. Is that Colorado's Best Roofing, and why?
So we do. We do have in-house guys, absolutely. Some of our crews are subcontracted. We don't pay guys all through the winter. We just couldn't. We keep one crew on. So it's one gentleman I have a relationship with for over 10, 15 years, and him and I work very closely. So I have our in-house guys. We have Angelo and Eduardo and Jaime that work, and we have they monitor the safety, they monitor the roofing, and they do most of all of our repairs. So it's a little bit of both.
Talking with Steve Walker, he's the president of Colorado's Best Roofing. Look, you don't want to wait for that bad weather to hit. They've got no pressure, no gimmicks. They provide a free, no obligation inspection. You can give Colorado's Best Roofing a call at 303-797-7663. That's 303-797-7663, or visit them online at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. We'll continue our conversation with Steve Walker. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. You won't believe what we're going to do next with him.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking with Steve Walker, the president of Colorado's Best Roofing. Look, hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it, we've got it in Colorado. That's why you need a roofing company that you can trust. And we over here at 710K US trust Colorado's Best Roofing. They're our guys, right? They're local, family-owned, and have served Denver for over 12 years. Let me give you their phone number. Just put it in your phone, even if you don't need it right now. Have Colorado's Best Roofing in your phone, 303-797-7663. That's 303-797-7663, or visit them at roofingcolorado.com. Now, Billy, there's a hazing that takes place here when somebody joins the sponsorship family at 710K in US.
Yes, there is a procedure we have to go through. It is always a little questionable because we're afraid they might cancel the contract after this. But yet we charge forward. It's something we like to call You Choose the News. It's everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. You know how we do it. I have scoured the interwebs for mere moments for these stories right here in my hands and given them even more ridiculous headlines so that we play this fake radio news game show with you. Why? Because the people in charge have no idea where to use it. We are doing this. Yes, we have been left unsupervised, so we are taking full advantage of it with our friend Steve Walker, president of Colorado's Best Roofing. Alrighty, Steve is going to choose our second story. Gentlemen, your headlines. Headline number 1, Miss Piggy knows. Headline number 2, love better left unsaid. Headline number 3, testing a religious theory. And headline number 4, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Mr. Hunt, your choice.
I'm going to start with testing a religious theory.
Just how I knew you would. Testing a religious theory. Here we've traveled to Geneva. A certain city councilor in Switzerland is having to apologize. Why? Well, recently, Councilor Ameti, 32 years old, put images on Instagram of her practicing. She was practicing something that ended up causing a lot of controversy. Normally, it wouldn't be a big deal that you are practicing with your sporting pistol. She's doing target practice. It's great. Except for the target that she chose. She was looking for something that was good. No, she actually picked a poster of a 14th century Madonna and child painting. And used used it as target practice and then posted it on Instagram, not understanding the implications. Oddly enough, lots of people had a little bit of an issue with this.
I would say so.
Yeah, I was like, and she's like, I didn't think of it. I didn't know people would get mad. Really? Yeah, I didn't think people would get mad about this.
14th century poster she was shooting at?
Well, it's a replica that, it's a 14th century
replica
painting.
of it.
But it's a poster, but still going through all the posters you have that you obviously have collected since you've been in teenage years. How many of us would go, well, obviously, the Madonna and Child is the one I need to use for target practice.
Right.
Yeah, not my New Kids on the Block poster.
It's like, you remember the lawmaker down in the southern part of Colorado that took her opponent's yard signs and used them as target practice?
I know. It's like, come on, guys. Yeah, read the room. Oddly enough, she's facing a lot of backlash and has deleted her social media accounts.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's one way to get the heat off of you.
All righty, here is the real important portion. Steve Walker gets to choose story number 2. We have Miss Piggy knows, love better left unsaid, or nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Your choice, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Miss Piggy knows.
Yeah, Miss Piggy knows. Boy, does she know. I think we have finally solved that problem about what was Miss Piggy seeing in Kermit. Here's why. Authorities,
wallet.
Well, authorities, it's maybe something entirely different. Here, I'll tell you what it is. The Andean County authorities in the Andean County of Peru have now confiscated hundreds of endangered frogs that were caught by poachers. They were trying to transport nearly 390 frogs in a cardboard box in a truck into the capital and going over into Bolivia as well. The animals were supposed to be taken to Lima, Peru, but why were they going to be transported into the city center? Because those frogs are known as the Viagra of the Incas. There's an aphrodisiac associated with secretions of the toads and the frogs. So what they do is they take the squishy little things that come out of the toads and frogs and they put them into a mixture, and then they say, this will give you the love potion. So maybe that's the reason that Miss Piggy knew so much and loved Kermit.
Love
Because,
Kermit.
just a little
go.
bit of licky, and then it's a love time. I'm just saying, I'm spitballing. I'm not sure that's the real thing, but maybe that's the reason.
It's
But again,
just amazing what people choose to do their days with.
I know.
I'm
and
illegally transporting boxes of frogs.
Yeah, that are aphrodisiacs. And again, here's the idea: is how long would it take Jeff, Steve Walker from Colorado's Best Roofing, myself, and maybe a couple of our listeners to sit around and go, have we tried licking the frogs?
Right, I know.
How long does it take us to get
that
there?
guy?
Exactly.
Now, Steve, I got a question to ask you. What's the weirdest animal you've ever had to deal with in a roof?
Oh, that's, well, I mean, they're usually raccoons, something like that.
Those are big too.
Yeah, they get up in there. Yeah,
they'll bite you. They're nasty.
Yeah, that's about it.
You ever been bitten by an animal trying to get it out?
The hornet's nest, those things will get you.
You should have seen the look on his face. That's a man experiencing PTSD right there.
Yeah. Also, Colorado pro tip: you see a raccoon in the daytime, the thing's got rabies. They're nocturnal, so if you see them in the daytime, stay away. Do not mess with it. Whatever you do, that thing's going to go nightmare.
Don't
on you.
lick it.
Do not. Yeah, but it is not for kissing. Not at all. All righty, Mr. Hunt. Final choice this morning, sir. Love, better left unsaid, or nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
I'm going with the Spanish Inquisition.
Yes, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. We are traveling to New York. Now, those of you that are Monty Python fans understand that when you're involved in the Spanish Inquisition, there is one step they take to really turn the screws. What is it? Bring in the comfy chair. Yes, bring in the comfy chair. Recently, Starbucks has decided to go complete Spanish Inquisition because they're trying to turn their coffee shops back into coffee shops. Their brand new CEO is saying we've got a problem with the functionality of the coffee shop. Too many people are wandering in and taking the beverage and then wandering out. And he thinks the problem is the chairs suck. He thinks it is uncomfortable to sit inside of a Starbucks on long term unless you are some kid that's just trying to pirate their Wi-Fi. So other than that, you got no reason to be there. So he's trying to transform one of his things after he's gotten his private plane flying back and forth.
Right,
to the
I know,
office.
every single morning.
He knows all about comfy chairs inside that plane. So he thinks that the key
That's
to
not the
revitalizing
issue.
Starbucks
The issue
comfy
is
chairs.
if you spend longer than an hour there, you smell like a coffee shop for the rest of the day.
You do. I know. It's just, it's awful. It's awful functionality, but I don't think the comfy chair thing is going to work. But yet again, I'm not in charge of Starbucks, so what the hell do I know? Well, that's it. Unfortunately, that is the end of You Choose the News. We so appreciate Steve Walker, president.
He
of Colorado's
survived
Best Roofing.
the
And hopefully
Spanish
so is our
Inquisition.
advertising campaign. But we appreciate you playing along, sir. And as always, there are winners, and I'm just a big, giant loser. Back to you, sir.
Great to have Steve Walker here with us. We're going to continue the conversation about Colorado's Best Roofing and why they can provide important services to you, especially as we head into the snow, hail, heavy wind season here in Colorado. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's been an absolutely fire show. If you missed any of the discussions about last night's debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast there. Absolutely full lines for 3 hours. Diving into that. You guys, I mean, it was right, left, center. Everybody was a part of that conversation. We've got in studio with us Steve Walker. He's the president of Colorado's Best Roofing. He's new to the family. We can't do this work without supporters and sponsors like Colorado's Best Roofing. There's no line item in the continuing resolution budget in Congress to fund the Jeff and Bill Show.
Trying to change
comes
that.
from people like Steve, which we appreciate. Steve, we talked about the fly-by-night guys that are out there, but you're very different. You're about craftsmanship. You're not trying to be the biggest roofing company in all of Colorado, providing flips and new roofs, like that. You guys take your time, you do it right. Some of these certifications prove that, right? You're Master Elite GAF certified roofer.
Yeah, so GAF is the largest shingle manufacturer in the country. You probably see them on the DIY shows a lot. 2% of the contractors in America get the certification.
2%
in North America of Master Elite.
This guy's elite, man.
So there's probably 4 of us in Colorado. What does that mean for a customer? I mean, we have to have our insurance, the Better Business Bureau rating. We have to jump through a lot of hoops for them to put their stamp on us, which gives us the opportunity to give customers long-term workmanship warranties where GAF will own the roof moving forward, not against storm damage, but any kind of leak or any kind of default, they're covered with that. So we're pretty proud of that.
That's a 25-year gold pledge warranty on workmanship, 50 years on them. I'm not even going to be alive 50 years.
That is very unusual inside of the industry to get that long-term of a guarantee. Right? It is really unique, and that's what you get when you're working with Colorado's Best Roofing.
Colorado's Best Roofing. Give them a call at 303-797-7663. That's 303-797-7663 or roofingcolorado.com. roofingcolorado.com. Steve, thanks so much for being on the program
for having me,
today.
Guys. This is great.
All right, we'll continue. Or Charlie Kirk's up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a great day.